SDP the Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Tomorrow night, Shoeless Joe's Queen's Key. We're hanging out, and the reason that we're hanging out is because Julian McKenzie's in town, which means the Senators are in town, which means the Leafs and the Senators on a Tuesday night.
Yeah!
And the Senators would not have come had Julian not come first. They said wherever Julian goes, that's where we go.
Yeah.
And so we will be at Shoeless Joe's 249 Queens Quay. If you want to be there, check out the Eventbrite link. It's going to be a blast. It's actually a much more sort of intimate space than what we've done before. And Shoeless Joe's is obviously the true Canadian sports grill. It's going to have a whole bunch of great pre and post
Adam
food
said
options.
Canadian, and Jesse couldn't get past.
Hey, listen. You know what? You guys do it.
No.
You guys do it. You know what? You read all the crazy ingredients that go into stuff.
Listen, I'm proud to be a cranberryan.
There you go. Listen, I just want to say I'm very excited about this Shoeless Show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sports watching atmosphere. It's what it's all about. And we're going to do a live show, which I love. And I'm very excited for. Also, if you're not watching on video, my mustache, what do we think for Movember?
The thing about Movember is the first 2 weeks are just a world of hurt.
They're rough.
They're so...
It's better than last week, though, don't you think?
Yes, I do think.
I had the weekend to percolate, and I feel...
I am of the opinion that you shouldn't cheat at most things. You should cheat at growing facial hair.
Like, should I take the last week in October next year? And
Last week, for me, it's like I start Movember, Canadian Thanksgiving, I think.
I always like watching your videos actually in the first round because you have these weird hairs that grow in at the corners of your
It grows
chin.
in thick, like exactly
neck
here, and that's it.
Yeah, it's neck beardish.
Yeah, it's you should go see my beard from the 2013 playoffs. I didn't keep up with like maintaining the neck at all. It does grow in thick in the neck. It's horrible.
I made a Photoshop of you one year where you're melded with a beaver because of how neck beardy you went. You were looking up, and it was all neck.
I look horrible.
You look like a beaver. Covered in neck fur.
More of that.
Just terrible. No,
I wish I could find that.
I did Movember a few times, and my wife's like, "How about you donate?"
Right.
Some women like it. Natalie likes it, right?
Yeah, Natalie does like it. She doesn't like it yet, but
Sarah Louise does
I'm
not.
hoping she'll like it eventually. Alan just lit me up on our podcast.
You deserved it.
On Friday. So he's like, I'm just not going to make a comment about that. We're going to move on. By the way, you should check it out. I do want to say that we have a new Agent Provocateur out. And this has to do with the concussion, the CTE advisory committee that the NHLPA is putting together and what it actually means. And I think Alan does a great job of sort of explaining it. He's intimately involved. And I would love to. He's also going to a Bruce Springsteen concert in the West this week, which is to the surprise of no one.
Can he tell us what's going on with Max Pacioretty, since no one seems to know?
Well, I mean, it was at one point it was fine, and now it's not fine, and then it was fine again. What it turns out it is a, from what I hear, a pulled hamstring.
Okay,
but Alan didn't tell me that. Nick Alberga tweeted that, and
but then Darren Dreger
said it was long term and complicated, which apparently is not the case on the complicated part.
The dreaded week to week.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What week to week? That could be, you know what? There's, what is it? 12 weeks in 3 months. Is that week to week?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what week to week means. I also think the NHL needs to stop doing this. Just let us know.
Yeah, I think they're the only league with the ridiculous upper body, lower body injury thing. Just tell us the injuries.
Yeah.
Like I'll say this time and time again. The NFL, the biggest world in the league, has complete transparency with injury designations. Like you need to tell people, hey, going into at this certain point in time at a practice, these are the guys who are injured, and this is what they have, and this if they'll be out or inactive. And I don't understand why the NHL couldn't go to that formula as well.
So Brock Besser was hit illegally, and
that's one of the worst headshots in a long time.
And they listed him as indefinitely, like out indefinitely, which to me means you're not.
We don't know.
We really don't. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
That I feel like is more exact than week to week.
Oh yeah,
I understand the sentiment.
right? It's all jargon, right?
Do you know what Austin Matthews is out with?
It's a shoulder thing, isn't it?
No.
I don't know.
It's not?
upper body. The Leafs haven't told anybody what Austin Matthews has.
Oh.
And they don't have an obligation to.
Well,
And they don't have to provide any kind of information. They just need to say that it's upper body, and that's still what it is.
you know what I was about to say is, well, upper body, you know what that probably means? And then I stopped myself. Steven, nope. It just means above the waist, I think.
Yeah. What if your hand drips below your waist when we're looking at you? Is that mid body?
Lower body, broken finger. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird, I think. You know? So,
It is. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I look at
It's the only league that operates like this.
I look at it too, and I'm like, so the idea back in the day was, and I think it was Lou Lamoriello or
Rub
Pat
some
Quinn that
dirt on
started.
it?
Well, no. The idea was don't tell people, because they used to just voluntarily tell you, and then I think it was Pat Quinn or it was Lou Lamoriello who just started saying upper and lower body. And the reason they did it was because that back then players would target you. You had a broken finger, and they knew about it. They'd slash you across the hands.
Will.
Sure they will.
They still will.
Sure they will. But I mean, I would argue that the NFL is infinitely more violent, and they have to disclose. And I think if you've got betting markets, I think if you need to disclose this stuff, you have to say something. But again, I don't run the league, so
I don't like speculating what the injury is, except with Max Pacioretty, because he goes down and immediately, what's wrong with his hamstring? He grabbed his hamstring.
Yeah, he put his hand on the part that got injured.
Yep.
I think we can all tell it's a pulled hamstring.
You'd have to be real quick on your toes, but like if you get hurt, like just grab something else. Grab your arm. My shoulder. As they help you off while you can't put weight on your left foot. You got to be real quick on your toes.
Just grabs his head. He was like, a concussion.
my eyebrows
Throw everybody off the scent. I understand the people will target things rule, but I think it loses credence when guys are playing with things injured all the time, and other players know what guys have, and they'll obviously go after parts. But like you said, the NFL is also a violent sport where people will target areas. It's a part of the game. If people want to target you in a way, they'll do it.
Basketball has some of the dirtiest shit.
Oh yeah.
Basketball's so dirty.
The new trend, well, I don't know about new, but it's a growing trend of just sticking your foot under a jumping guy's foot so that he fucks his ankle up. Jeannot on Jason Tatum the other night. Who is the guy? Draymond will just kick you in the balls. Like his signature move was he'll kick you in the balls.
Right. And then the thing, if you're just going out there and blatantly targeting somebody's injured body part, there's also going to be consequences for that.
Yes.
So I don't think it's just, people just go rogue on injuries. Like, I don't think that's a reality.
No, you're right. There's got to be some decorum. You wait for the spring when it's okay.
Exactly. Playoff time. Go ham.
Yeah, Sam Bennett I think November's a waste of time. How miserable do you think he is right now?
That it's not the playoffs?
That it's not the playoffs and he can't just injure people with impunity.
Oh, then he's just going to play good hockey.
There you go.
Sam Bennett does.
He's doing well. I just picked him up.
Let's have a look at that Brock Besser play. Since we brought it up, I was going to save it for later, but I just sent it to you, Jesse, and it's a huge hit by Tanner Jeannot. By the way,
we're not doing the Leafs.
Well, we are going to do the Leafs, but I want to start with this since we're already here. The Brock Besser hit is textbook beating.
Good way to put it. I feel like I can't remember if we talked about this at the end of last week, but it felt like in the early 2010s there was one of these like every week or two.
Yes,
that we would talk about, and it would get suspended or not suspended as long as Colin Campbell was overseeing, and there was a player involved that he didn't like. But there were a lot of incidents like this, and now there's so much more gray. Oh, you hit the shoulder first, or you rode up, or you can tell there's no intent. Like this one, it's pure.
Like what?
Look at that. The turning of the head is so bad. You worry about like concussion, yeah, obviously, but the neck too. Like that, it's textbook beaning. That's so bad, man.
Yeah.
And he's doing it so casually too.
Tanner Jeannot has really struggled since that one good year in Nashville, and he's really struggling this year. He's got 2 points in 15 games.
He was such an animal
Well, he's trying to be a force out there, right? Like he's trying to do something. If you're not going to score, you got to be something. And
he's still an animal. Like he's a vicious player. I just didn't know him as this kind of player.
Right. And I wonder, I mean, listen, I don't think that Tanner Jeannot was like, I'm gonna injure Brock Besser. The reality is he did.
It's a bad hit.
I think what it is that this is a player probably desperate to continue in the NHL, and who wouldn't be. And you're gonna want to make a name for yourself. The way to do that is to lay out a big guy on the other team, and the team's leading goal scorer, and caught him high, and it's nasty. And I'm curious about the next Vancouver LA game after this.
Oh Jesus! We talk about guys forcing plays. Like we talked about this with Nick Robertson sometimes. Like just you're trying to make it with every shift, and sometimes you're doing too much. This is just like the grinding version of doing too much, right? You're not worried about the goals or assists so much. You're like, all right, I got to play my role, and I'm gonna rock Brock Besser. Dude, it's so bad.
It's rough. It's a rough hit.
What did he miss game 7 with? Oh, it was a blood clot.
Yeah.
Dude, he's had the worst injury luck throughout his career.
I know. So hopefully they can get him back in the next couple of months. That it's not a severe concussion, but it sounded pretty serious. So that's the Brock Besser hit. Yay.
Do you want to hear the NHLPA's NHLPA Department of Player Safety high sticking history?
I would love to. Let's go. Let's go. And by the way, the CTE advisory committee, this is what it's for. It's for hits like this. It's for plays like this. They're listen more to the thing, but players need to be. The first tweet underneath that video that Jesse froze and we showed on screen is people were like, "This happened every game in the '90s," and it's like, yeah, man, that's like,
oh, okay,
yeah,
that's not a good thing.
That's why we're here.
Like, okay, here's what I get frustrated with.
This is bad. Like you can hit a guy in the shoulder, he'll survive it, man. Beating somebody.
I don't think we need to spend time on that.
No, we do.
No.
Just for a second. Just a second.
Goodness.
Okay, fine.
All right, let me play Department of Player Safety. I think that's a one-off tweet of somebody angry who that doesn't deserve our attention. Department of Player Safety on why Tanner Jeannot was suspended 3 games for an illegal check to the head of Canucks forward Brock Besser.
We're just doing audio.
Thursday night in Los Angeles, Kings forward Tanner Jeannot was assessed a match penalty for delivering an illegal check to the head of Canucks forward Brock Besser, causing an injury. As the video shows, Besser picks up the puck in neutral ice with Jeannot pursuing. Besser passes to a teammate. After he does, Jeannot finishes a high, hard check that cuts across the front of Besser's body, missing his core and making his head the main point of contact on a hit where such head contact was avoidable. This is an illegal check to the head. It is important to note that both elements of the illegal check to the head rule are satisfied on this play. First, the head is the main point of contact. While there is some contact with Besser's body, Jeannot's shoulder makes direct and forceful contact with Besser's head, and it is the head that absorbs the majority of the force of this check. Second, the head contact on this play is avoidable. It is Jeannot who is in control of this hit, and he chooses an angle of approach that cuts across the front of Besser, missing his core and making his head the main point of contact.
Not to laugh, but like,
if Jeannot wants to deliver this check, he must stay low and take an angle that hits through Besser's shoulder and core, rather than one that makes the head the main point of contact.
And it's a far more effective.
This is an illegal check to the head. Besser suffered an injury on the play. Jeannot has been fined once during his 242-game NHL career. The Department of Player Safety has suspended Tanner Jeannot for 3 games.
Yeah. The avoidable part, I mean, is the part.
Yeah.
Because he's coming in. Besser has the puck. Check. Jeannot is coming in and he's not like still taking strides. Check. He's coming in low. Check. Comes up, beans him directly in the cranium. Like, yeah, if you don't come up high, you destroy Besser, and that game probably gets out of hand real fast.
Steve, I think you talked over it a little, but in that video, I think they did kind of what you wanted. Because didn't he say in order to make this a legal check, and he kind of he said,
Yeah, you got to go through them and keep it low on it.
Okay.
Hey, that's awesome.
Show an example. Show like
no, but
yeah,
no,
that is good. It is good. What?
Yeah, no, okay.
I think
but the example they're talking about is this hit, and he's saying, hey, in order to make this a legal hit, this is what he should have done in this scenario, and I think that was very good of them.
It was very good.
Okay. It's just acknowledge that they did something good.
No, okay. We're at a B plus. We're at a B plus.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is better than the F minus they're always at.
Yeah.
Great. And how to turn that into an A?
Yeah.
I think is you show examples of a forceful legal hit that is similar to this one, except it doesn't go awry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's good that they've seemed to expanded the explanation of these. And
it is good.
That's a new part of the thing.
Yeah, they're up from F minus or whatever it was you said. To, B plus. I, in school, would have been very satisfied with a B plus. Here's how you make it an A.
Mr. Jeannot, here's how you could have made it a legal check. Fabulous stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now Jeannot.
And now Jeannot.
Excellent.
Am I right? Am I right?
It's
excellent.
No. And you know what?
Did you know that before?
The mustache, I can't tell if it makes it more endearing or worse.
Waka waka. All right, now
horrible. No, that made it worse.
Let's do I want to do the BetMGM big story here. And then we're going to get into the Leafs. We're going to lead with the BetMGM big story, though, because it's a hot take. Get ready. Okay, BetMGM big story, and I thought this one was good because the title of the article is, could William Nylander win the Rocket Richard this season?
Whoa!
All right. And the writer is Jonas Siegel.
Okay.
Now, it's worth repeating, obviously. Willy's done really, really well this year. Okay, really well, but he did really well last year, and I think it's important to put some of these into perspective. So since the start of the 2021-2022 season, Nylander ranks 12th in the NHL with 125 goals. Here are some of the names he beat out.
Wow.
Kyle Connor.
Wow.
Steven Stamkos.
Wow.
Nikita Kucherov.
Wow.
He is 7 goals behind Sam Reinhart in that span.
Okay.
And he's one of 8 players to score at least 40 goals each of the last 2 seasons. The others are Matthews, Pasternak, Point, Rantanen, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Kaprizov.
That's the echelon of goal scorer Nylander's in.
Yes. Which is kind of nuts, right?
So when you said Rocket, I'm like, all right, relax. He's not even the best goal scorer on the Leafs, but he is literally a top 8 player. Like when you think about the consistency of all that, like is Reinhart going to flirt with 60 again? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. And I think the reason that he doesn't have a contract that looks like Willy's is that I don't think that the Panthers...
he plays in Florida.
He plays in Florida. But B, I think that kind of was like, whoa, that kind of came out of nowhere. And some of those, sometimes you have that.
Right.
We expect you to be 35 to 40, not 60 guy.
Right.
Did you know that Sam Reinhart has the same amount of goals as William Nylander this season in less games?
Nah.
This is...
I think Sam Reinhart might be for real, guys.
No, I agree.
But I would agree. Would you not also say if you're Bill Zito with your laser eyes?
Totally.
Hey, what are the chances you score 60 again? Like, I don't mind him having that conversation. Now, when it comes to Willy, he's got 11 and 16 this year, which is worse than Sam Reinhart, as Jesse
Who has
pointed out.
11 and 15.
That's right.
Yes.
But
I didn't know I was the Sam Reinhart defense committee.
you are. You're supposed to. I thought you were going to be big and Willy up here. Now, Willy had 11 and 16 last year. And what Jonas Siegel says in the article, and this is where I want to get, if you're betting an over-under on goals for Nylander, he scored 40 in each of the last 2. He was on fire last year all the way through the Sweden trip. And then around Christmas, he kind of tailed off. And he does do that. Gentlemen, do you think we get a second half slump from William Nylander? Or are we finally able to see William Nylander go slump free, relatively speaking? I'm talking more than like a week or 2 for the rest of the year. Is this the year?
2 big factors. Number 1, and it's wild that I'm saying this because I wouldn't have ever predicted this at the beginning of the season. He lost a key line mate the other night.
Pacioretty?
Max Pacioretty really tied the room together. You know what? It's three factors. They lost Pacioretty. Tavares has returned to form after that illness. If Nylander's center is going to be Tavares going forward, Nylander can't be part of this conversation without Tavares being a big part of that. And number three, they had the worst power play in the NHL for about a month, and that will not continue, and Willy's going to be a big part of that.
Right.
I could see him getting 45. I could even see him getting 50. Rocket. It's killers up there, man.
Jesse.
Yeah, you mentioned him tailing off mid-season there, but the end of the season is really where he went the coldest. He went the last 11 games with 0 goals.
Because he should have hit 100 points.
Yes.
He had ended with 98 points.
Yes.
In those last 11 games, he ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4 assists. You know, over that course, he should have had 2 more points in there to hit 100, and he didn't do it.
Do the Leafs have the only 200-point scorers in the NHL who have never scored 100?
Mitch and Willy? Yeah.
Dude.
I'm going to say no Rocket, probably another 40 to 45 goal season for Willy. I'd say under 50,
So if
above,
I was
around 45.
I was going to set the over-under at 50.
I'd take the under.
You take the under.
I'd say 46, 45-ish goal season, which will be a career high by 5.
Yes.
His career high is 40,
Well, Steve, time to do the bit. I'm taking the under.
Oh, there you go.
Bet with your brain, not with your heart.
That's crazy. Okay. All right. So will he or won't he? Will he?
Willy.
Will he or won't he?
But the first one's spelled Willy.
Willy.
Or
Willy or
won't
won't he? Get it?
Yeah, that's good.
Get
That's
it?
good.
Get it? That should be a graphic on TV right now.
Totally.
Should be. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there.
That's good.
I think he can. Whether or not he will, ask me in January. And I think what's really important here is what's different this year is there's a Four Nations Cup. And he's going to be a big part of Team Sweden. There can't be any tailing off.
Play for Team Canada.
Yeah, he should be playing for Team Canada.
Damn right.
Maybe he can play
Calgary.
from Calgary, Alberta, William Nylander.
See
Hey,
the solution in net.
that's the BetMGM big story. Go to betmgm.com/dangle for more. This time last week, the Toronto Maple Leafs had the 31st best power play in the league. Now, invert or switch around that 1 and 3.
No way.
They're 13th.
They have a top half power play.
They have a top
Hilarious.
half power play after this weekend. They went into this weekend on fire, actually, on the power play with 4 total power play goals. They now have 9.
They scored like 6 straight goals.
Yeah, it's
Like,
crazy.
It was crazy.
The power play is lethal, and everybody wants to make it about Austin Matthews not being there. Let's park that for a second.
The streak began with him.
It did. So let's park that for a second, though. Austin's out. Let's just talk about what's working on the power play, boys. Jesse, specifically, you were at the games. Mm-hmm. You saw the Hall of Fame game, and then you saw the Montreal
No,
Canadiens.
I wasn't there on Friday.
You were there on Friday.
No, Friday I wasn't there.
You were there
I was
Montreal.
on Saturday was the Remembrance Day game. It was fucking fantastic what they did with the pregame ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Watch that on TV. It was beautiful.
Did they show all the centurions they brought out?
Yes.
100
Oh my
years
gosh.
old. And I was like, oh my God.
And they're like, this guy was in the army before he was eligible, and he snuck in. He lied about his age. It was like the 3 of them. I was like, you guys are just ambitious.
Yeah.
back
That's
then.
my grandpa did that.
Same thing. Yeah, he lied about his age.
Lied about his age to fight.
Yeah.
He was
And
17.
the-
I was not doing that. At
The courage to do that as a teenager, and then to successfully go through the war, and then now to be around at 100 to be celebrating Remembrance Day, like it was incredible. It's
amazing.
It brought a tear to my eye.
The way he told the story is when he went to sign up, they go, "How old are you?" He goes, 18. He goes, "Sure you are." And he just let him
They
sign
didn't
up.
care.
He just let him sign up, put him on a boat.
Yeah, they just wanted bodies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so they didn't have to conscript people.
Yes. That's
So
it.
let the people who want to come.
But it was like
So-
he tells it. Sorry, like it's literally like him and like 4 friends. They were hanging out and they're like, "We're gonna get. You want to just sign up?" And they just went. That was their hangout for the day. Let's go sign up for the war.
Yeah.
It's insane.
The
so
courage.
So back to the power play for a second here. So the what I wanted to go to you with, Jesse, was what in seeing it in person, what is now working that was not?
It's definitely more fluid in the sense that they're whipping the puck around the zone.
Confidence.
They're not trying the cross crease pass that they love when Matthews is out there, and you're seeing guys not look for the perfect shot. You know, they're not trying to find anyone. They're just sending the puck to the net, getting it around the areas where they should be. And there's a certain confidence, like you said, with, hey, one of us out here can score now, and we're just going to find a way to do it.
I liked the Bruins game where they were just scoring power play goals at will. Like, that's Matthew Nyes, I think, really ties the room together on that power play. I feel like the Habs game wasn't the greatest example of why the Leafs power play is working because, dude, that team
We'll get to the Habs, by the way.
Terrible.
They're bad.
They're
really bad.
I can't believe it.
As of this morning, they're last in the NHL.
Maybe I should believe it. Like, they didn't make the playoffs last year. They're still rebuilding, but that was the thing I said heading into this season was they need to show steps, and they're going backward.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Doesn't help that they're somewhat molasses at center too. Like they're
their forwards don't help out their D at all.
No,
at all.
No, it's bad. But the power play.
they're not being ironically they're not being as picky about their shots.
Yeah,
they're just taking it, and I do think confidence is a huge part of it. Like we've already expressed ad nauseum. Yeah, go to the net.
Yeah,
which they do, but there's a confidence with what they're doing now, and they should be confident in what they're doing because it's going in.
What I'm curious about is bringing the Matthews part into it. Is what the coaching staff has traditionally done on this team is go right back to what wasn't working, because that's what the players want. And what has really come to the fore here in the last few games is the play of Mitch Marner without Austin. And people are going, wow. And I have been a proponent of breaking these guys up, as you guys know, for months and months, dating back to last year. And I think it's not because they're not great together. It's not because they haven't done crazy things together. It's because their habits together are so ingrained. Oh, we know where each other's going to be. I think specifically because that reason exists and replays exist and teams study these guys, I think that they're predictable.
Those players are smart enough that they can figure out where anyone is. If they can split all three of them up, I mean, that carries you through the entire regular season.
Exactly.
You come up with another plan maybe for the playoffs, the whole regular season, it's a joke. You cruise to the playoffs. If you come up with three lines that work, it's a joke.
And I think that's what's been great, as a Leaf fan and watching fan reactions to it is that this guy, Mitch Marner, is like, oh wow, like he's so good on his own. He doesn't need this. And it was clear to me last year that when when Austin was between Bertuzzi and Domi that he didn't need it either. And so
that line was so good.
It was so good, and I think that's where I want to see this team go. I want to see what a power play with Bobby McMahon and Austin Matthews and someone else looks like. I want to see what Nylander and Mitch do on the first unit. I'm worried about this because the way the power play is structured right now, you got two bumpers, right? You've got Tavares and Nyes who are consistently in front of the net. Tavares is higher, Nyes is towards the goalie, but that's
most good power plays.
And then you've
what?
Oh, and then the Siri interrupted the show.
Okay, whoever did the last Apple update, you broke it. Go back. It's been horrible. Holy shit.
So I look at this and I go, okay, so Austin comes back and instantly they're going to go, well, we'll put him on the first power play unit. And I'm concerned about that because the reason that Nyes is able to be so effective in his spot and the reason that Tavares has been so effective in his spot is because of each other.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to go through the 4 power play goals that we saw Friday, Saturday. And if you look at them, and I want to talk about each one because they lend to Mitch and Tavares really worked and were the reason that they scored these 4 goals. One on Saturday was Willy entering the zone and he just wires a wrister.
Yeah, man, they can do stuff off the rush again.
That is completely...
What happened?
That's separate from the Mitch and Tavares conversation, but it lends to like, hey, them scoring off the rush? What is this team? That's impossible. They never do that.
Scoring a variety of ways is so important to the potency of your power play because you need to prove you're dangerous in every facet.
So the one that Mitch scores, it's Willy off of the rush. Well, Mitch has the puck going into the zone, and then Willy gets it, and then Willy shoots, and it's a rebound that Mitch, because he's following the play to the net, he scores that rebound. There we go, Mitch Marner scoring the goal. The other two are John Tavares' goals, where Mitch Marner is working the zone of the power play. He's doing this little thing where he shows off his excellent edge work, and he's just skating around doing dipsy doodles, but then he sends the puck to Tavares to the middle where he's in his position where you're talking about, Adam, and Tavares turns around suddenly and just fires it to the net. One of them goes in right away, and then the other one is his own rebound that he follows. So we have 3 of the goals that happened. 3 of the 4 are Mitch Marner creating the play. One's him going to the net for the rebound. The other one's him finding Tavares. And then Tavares capitalizes on the other 2 where he's in the middle of the ice and he's shooting and scoring. So
And how much, like, that Tavares spin and fire is harder to pull off when you don't have a legitimate threat in front of the net. Nyes is that legitimate threat.
Yeah, they figured something out here.
Yes.
And we're saying, like, if the goals have a consistent factor here, which is Mitch,
they do.
Mitch creating the plays and Tavares shooting and scoring and Willy entering the zone on the rush, like all of those things happen consistently over the weekend. I don't know how you can just go back and be like, okay, let's take all this away.
They told Mitch to shoot more. You can tell.
It's
And
been
Max.
working.
And Max.
I think he's shooting more because Austin's not there.
Yeah,
Well,
because
that's
frees them up.
And this is my point, right? I think that it's like whenever they say, "Oh, we know where each other's going to be," so does everybody else
It's
in
bad.
the NHL.
It's not. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, and it's not. This is not the same situation as Alexander Ovechkin sitting at his one spot and firing a shot. It's just not.
If it was the same, the power play would have never went cold.
Right.
Because that never
Damn,
goes cold.
Bars, Jesse. Bars. Yeah,
Bars.
poetry snaps. And that's the point, right? And I think Mitch, rightfully so, as any human being would, goes, well, why would I shoot it when he's got that shot?
Yes.
And I get that. I'm not blaming him for that. But take that option away, and all of a sudden, the thing that makes Mitch Marner special is the creativity. And this is where what's so frustrating about Mitch in the playoffs is that creativity goes away.
Well,
and I
sometimes
want
you try to create something that's not there. Okay, there's no pathway to a pass to Matthews. I'm gonna make one, and no, it just doesn't work.
exactly. And so what it forces him to do is stuff that we all know he can't. And that's so the reason that people are like, oh, you guys are hard on this guy, you're hard on that guy. I'm hard on them because
Yeah, they're stars.
because they're stars and they're great, and we know they're capable of more, and we're now seeing it, and that's what's so exciting. So and it's just come out, by the way. I was just writing a couple of notes here. Obviously, Pacioretty's going to be injured for a while. Matthews is doubtful for tomorrow, according to Brad Treliving. That just happened.
According to Brad Treliving.
Yeah, because
Okay,
he's talking
good
to the media
source.
today. And Calle Yarncroke suffered a setback in recovery, so he's going to New York to see a specialist. So this cap issue that
shit.
we're concerned about is not going to be a problem for a long time.
Well-
And I look at this with the Matthews thing, and I go, good. Let this continue to happen so that when it comes back, the coaching staff goes, literally, until this goes quiet, I can't put Austin back there.
So
Put him. Let's try to figure out something with the other unit and Austin.
there's a few things here, though. So with Pacioretty out, I was looking forward to Dewar and also Yarncroke coming back, because for this dream of creating 3 lines that are dangerous, you need other players in there, right? Like Yarncroke could have been a big part of creating a Matthews line separate of Nylander and Marner. Now you don't have him. How the hell do you do it? Oh boy. Like, I don't want to pick on this player, but we're real close to Pontus. What do you do here?
We're close to it, or we're asking it.
Well, like, how many games has he played? 14?
Yeah, he's got like
an
2 points.
assist or 2.
Look, dude,
But then, and this is the problem. So he's playing bottom 6 in the NHL, and then I look just west down the street, and there's Alex Steves with, I'm pretty sure, 9 goals in 10 games in the minors. Some guys need to step it up, like Bobby McMahon. That'd be great.
yeah,
You know.
he's looked really good in flashes.
Yes.
And his rush chances, it seems like this team has been given permission to do rush
Yeah.
again, because they notably, they used to be really good off the rush, but Keefe kind of took that away because they wouldn't get back in cover. And they stopped doing it.
Robertson and McMahon have lethal enough shots that if you gave them Matthews and Matthews was a facilitator, like Ashley asked about in my LFR video, that line.
Ashley.
That line could be nasty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
I got no problem with Bobby McMahon's game. I think he's very useful on the ice.
Yes.
Like, his quickness it's very apparent when he's out there. You know, he's some of running around, but it's not running around like Robertson was last year, where it's just busy nothing. Like McMahon serves a purpose out there, and Holmberg, as you're mentioning the point totals, he scored an assist on the second game of the season. That's been it. Like he has one assist on the year, and he's many moons ago.
Ping-ponged around the lineup, too.
Yeah, Holmberg for me is the man out right now. But you need, with the guys going down for injuries, you need these bodies. So he's gonna have playing time.
And Domi and Nylander are missing today's practice, by the way, just for maintenance reasons, so nobody freak out. But I'm looking at this against Ottawa, which always brings their A game, no matter how bad they are, and they've been bad, and they still are bad.
They beat the Bruins the other day.
Who are also bad.
But
listen, you gotta start it somewhere, right? So good for the Sens. I'm not trying to take away, but they're not good. This is the opportunity the Leafs have. I was looking. Sounds stupid because they're a bit thin up front right now. They have so much depth on defense, super thin up front. Why not a guy like if Matthews isn't going to be back right now, power play 2 penciled in as Connor Dewar, and he hasn't even played a game.
Actually?
Yeah. So I don't think that's the way it's going to go. Steven Lorentz.
That's a placeholder, I assume, right?
Yeah, that's a placeholder for sure.
Steven Lorentz net front.
Why not? He's had some good opportunities.
I don't hate it in the slightest. I don't give a damn.
It's like, Noah Gregor with Matthews and Marner. Why not?
Dude, they're second in the Atlantic and it's November. Try it. Is changing up who's net front on your second power play unit gonna sink your season? Try it. I don't give a damn.
And you've got...
There was a time, I keep going back to this, there was a time where putting Hyman on your power play at all was a stupid suggestion.
Yeah.
Try it.
I also look at the power play 2 unit, so Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Domi, Robertson, McMahon, and currently Dewar. And I go, okay, if you can get McMahon and Lorentz in the Nyes Tavares positions, and I don't expect them to be the same. I don't expect them to be as good.
That's fine.
But if you can have that double bumper situation where you've got a high and a low, and then you've got Domi making plays, which he's elite at. You've got Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's a good power play leader, and you have Robertson, who can finish.
You do Domi on the left and have Robbie's slap shot set up on the right? Okay.
Just try it.
I'm into it.
I think Steven Lorentz, for me anyway, I don't know if he's just a guy that I'm just unnaturally in love with.
We definitely have a blind spot for how much we like him.
But would you not agree? Was it not the fourth line that helped support? Again, it was against Montreal, but you can only play who you're playing.
They were all in front on the Timmins goal.
They were all in front on the Timmins goal, but also remember that game shift where they kept the Montreal players out for like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It was the fourth line that Berube put out there to support that.
The fourth line has been consistently very effective. I like them, man.
The fourth line's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with the fourth.
No, you leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's upset about Camp stopping it, including me. Keep that. Whatever. Who cares what his Camp?
He's been getting better and better.
The Camp's been great, especially now that him and Marner look to be like the best 1-2 combo on the penalty kill right now.
Yeah, they're
like,
great.
As of very recently, but they look fantastic, and the shorty they scored was fun. Like I think Camp's been he's earned a role on the team.
Well, I said to someone yesterday, because they were like, hey, how about David Kampf, right? Because I think they like him, and I've been giving him a hard time this season. Once or twice a month, he's like, I'm bored being David Kampf. I think I'm going to be Evgeny Malkin for, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Just for this brief little moment.
I'm Evgeny Malkin right now.
Yeah.
No, he's a fascinating player. He's going to be on the team for a while.
Whenever him and Lorentz and when Reeves is their line mate, they're out there. I feel like they win more minutes than you'd expect from a fourth line.
Yes.
So let me ask this. And again, don't want to pick on the player, but when Justin Bourne talked about Timothy Liljegren in the preseason, that's what did it for me. That okay, we need to move on here. Pontus Holmberg, do you want him out there with a lead?
I don't know. Does he hurt you?
I don't know about hurt you, but do you really want him out there with a lead? A lot of goals have been on him. Okay, do you want him out there when you're down?
You're trying to score? No.
Okay, what are we doing? Like, there are guys on the Marlies where it's like, do I want them out there when we're down? Yes. Are there guys out there? Well, I don't know them well enough to, be like, yeah, they should be out there defending the lead.
Yeah. I look at
He can't. You can't just be Guy, and he is so thoroughly Guy.
and I think a perfect example of that recently is Daniel Sprong being kicked out of Vancouver.
Yes.
for nothing
I was
because
shocked by that. Yeah.
I shit on Daniel Sprong a little bit during free agency when no one would sign him because he's such a one-dimensional guy.
Yeah.
Like he's all offense, he's a depth scoring. But if if you can't trust him to depth score, like if you're not getting it, then he's completely useless to your organization. So I feel like Vancouver we don't need you if you can't do anything else.
When we went off about that, there were people who watched him a lot in junior who said, like, there have been whispers about just what a pain in the ass he is, like, since back then. I had never heard any of this, but, like, yeah, he's always been this guy with all this talent, and no one seems to want him. It does say something to me, though, that Seattle wanted him back.
Well, I think they could use more scoring always, but also I thought it was interesting that Vancouver, when they did deal him, like, Tocchet met with this guy and said, "Here's your path. Do these things."
It's a huge,
and he didn't do them.
Huge red flag that
A month in,
that Rick Tocchet was like, no, not that's. I can't do this.
Yeah, because his role was to score.
Yeah,
and because already he's been in the NHL long enough, he's going to be a 0 on defense.
Yes,
penalty kill. Like it's so if he's not doing that, like I don't blame Vancouver at all. You did the right thing by moving on from him.
Didn't they trade him after Besser got hurt?
I don't know the time. I would. No, before, wouldn't it?
I don't know. Well, because with Besser out, it might be good to have Sprong. But,
I don't get the sense that they care.
Dakota Joshua too is trending towards coming back any week now. So there's a roster spot too that like will easily be filled there.
Yep.
It's just I think it's a good example of what you're talking about with Holmberg, where it's like, okay, if you're not good enough for on defense, but you're also not a scorer, what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
That's why I brought that up.
He's like, I don't know. I like him as an option for, okay, this penalty killer went down. Let's use Pontus. But who just got hurt? It's Pacioretty, and Matthews is also out. And, okay, we need some offense. You look around the lineup. All right, where's that coming from? Well, it's not 29.
Yep.
Right? So I don't know what you do there.
I think.
What's your use?
Sometimes you need neutral minutes.
Yeah.
As much
you
as
don't
I hate
get
to say
rid
it,
of
you do need neutral minutes. Like at risk of defending cardio merchants. Listen,
Adam, why do you want
Alex Kerfoot made $3.5 million. That's the difference. Holmberg makes $800,000. If he doesn't hurt you,
Busy Nothing's okay.
If it's $800,000 of Busy Nothing,
yeah.
Busy Nothing next to Tavares and Nylander in the playoffs year after year after year with zeros across the board.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fucking problem.
I'm not saying get rid of the guy. I'm just saying, do we have?
No. I think the discussion, we're pieing this guy and we're building a perfect lineup, right?
Yes,
we're dissecting the 12 forwards they got, and if you're looking at holes and where you can improve, I think that's clearly one of them. We're not saying that like he should be gone immediately. Yeah. Like they're obviously got to play guys, but I think if we're looking for improvements, there's clear.
How boring would the show be if we're just like, they won their last couple games?
That's great.
I don't think this should. Yeah, not even. I don't think this should change anything. Just that's great.
Yeah. Well, but there was a time in this show's existence where that would have been enough.
Yeah.
Because the expectations were terrible.
Yeah. The Raptors lost by 20 to the Lakers last night. I was like, you know what?
That's
Great
all
job.
right.
Great job, guys.
Good in it for a few quarters, right?
What's that?
Were they not in it for a few quarters?
Yeah, I know. They always hang around.
Yeah.
It's fantastic stuff.
They're 2-9.
Yeah, and then they got to.
They're 2-9.
Yeah, they had a couple games where like Barrett could have just made a 3 and they'd win, and he missed them, and it was awful. But like, good job.
Yeah.
Like everybody's injured, Yeah. But the Leafs aren't that.
No, they aren't.
Like I can't be like, you lost. Good job.
As it pertains to the lineup and where it is right now, because currently it's the third line. So McMahon would move up next to Tavares, which makes sense because he played really well with him last year. And he also kind of replicates what Pacioretty was bringing so well. I think Pacioretty was very valuable. Looks like Duer's going to slot in not at center, probably be on the left. Holmberg in the center, and then Robertson on line 3, and then the fourth line stays together, Lorenz, Kampf, Reeves, and I don't know why you'd break that up. By the way, I just think that the expense difference between the fourth and the third line is hilarious. You've got like $4 million on the fourth line, and the first line is barely 2.1, 2.2.
Duer's the only guy who makes over $1 million.
Yeah, and so what's going to be interesting for Holmberg is Duer. Because I look at him and I go, that's the guy, first off, that the organization committed $300,000 a year more to. He's younger.
They traded a pick to get him.
And
is he younger than Holmberg?
Yeah, because he's 25. Oh, I guess Holmberg's the same age.
They're about the same age.
But even so, that's your key rival there for spots and for minutes. And if Duer comes back and in the next 10 games he's winning regular faceoffs and killing penalties, like if you're Holmberg, if you're younger David Kampf,
you can't get kicked out of a single faceoff.
No, you can't let this guy do. You can't. That's got to be your thing, right?
You can't get kicked out of a single one. And Duer gets in there, shit. And then he wins it, and you go, shit.
This is where, as we said from the start of the year, this lineup did a lot of good things. They did a lot of good things. They got a really good goalie, Anthony Stolarz, grabbing the puck with his bare hand.
Just legend.
Awesome. Like just heritage moment shit. And then hang on, let me finish.
No.
Tanev and Ekman Larson. Those two for $8 million a year combined. That is so sexy. I can't even. Sorry.
I love those two.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I love them.
I told you would. I was like, guys, they're getting especially Ekman Larson was sick in the playoffs last year.
Look how long they're signed for, boo.
Who cares?
Give a shit.
Yeah,
not today.
Oh, sorry. Is that the fart police knocking at your door? Who cares? Fuck. I don't care about 5 years from now. I care about now.
Tanev's contract expires 2 lockouts from now. There will probably be compliance buyouts. Don't worry about it.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at 3C guys. And it came up in Chris Johnson. Who the hell is he? Came up in his latest article with the CJ mailbag, where it said, somebody said, "Are the Leafs going to trade for one?" And he's like, "Yes, probably." And the difference is they have a lot more cap space this year because, weirdly enough, they're not going to have to emergency call a goalie to sign a rookie out of the NCAA like they have in previous years.
Yes.
And they have injuries and they have space. And as the year goes on, and this will be weird for Leaf fans, that space will accrue. Mm-hmm. And I look at that and I go, I would do what the Vancouver Canucks did last year. I would make the trade in January, and I would find out if the person works or not. Because what Vancouver tried to do was they traded for Lindholm. They traded a lot for him and Zadorov. Zadorov worked out beautifully. Lindholm hasn't been the same since Gaudreau and Tkachuk left town, and it's time we openly talk about it. Look at even what's happening in Boston this year. I don't know. Like he was fine in the playoffs last year, but he wasn't. They tried to retrade him before the deadline, and I think the Leafs need to make an opening for that because you're probably trying to break up Matthews, Marner, Nylander.
There shouldn't be a world where the Bruins are worse than last year.
Yeah, and they spent a lot on Lindholm, and I look at that center position and I go, man. If you can just find someone.
Hey.
If you could just find someone.
How about this? The Leafs aren't the only team with a championship belt. Toronto Marlies have one too. You know who got one the other night?
Who?
Fraser Minten.
What do you think that is though, guys? Do you think Fraser Mitten's really the third line center?
But I just thought I would add it to the list of things to smile about.
I think he's a couple years away. And that's okay.
That's okay. That's all right.
I know, but we need a center now.
I know.
And
I just thought I'd throw it up.
That's what's going to have to happen.
That's fun.
On the other side of the ice, unless you guys have anything else you'd like to add for the Leafs over this, I mean, it was nice to see Derek Lalonde put Justin Hall in the lineup. I thought that was a nice.
The Habs really hate Max Domi.
Oh my God! First of all, Mr. Savard, you are chicken shit.
Oh yeah,
you are a piece of garbage.
That was such a chicken shit. He's only got 2 career fights though.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So you keep cross-checking a guy for like a minute in the corner, and then when he challenges you, you keep on your gloves, and you're like, oh, no. What happened?
It's part and parcel of what this Canadiens team is, though. Even Habs fans were like, dude, this is embarrassing.
He wasn't even the guy who got Domi the worst, though.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the dirtiest. And I can't believe, there's no fine or anything coming.
So
someone blindsided Domi bad.
Jesse
got it. I should have said it in the LFR.
It was Alex Newhook I wanted to bring up the footage.
I don't think it made the broadcast. Well, like it didn't make the broadcast.
No, we didn't see it.
Them talking about it, but Jesse obviously saw it.
So I feel like that's important to note that nobody on the broadcast talked about it.
It's probably why Domi's missing practice today.
Yeah, he got beat up on Saturday. It was awful.
But there's beat up fair, and there's beat up
cheap shit,
blindside interference.
So yeah, two things happened, and this was after the David Savard Max Domi incident, where David Savard kept hammering Domi with cross checks in the corner. Domi took a couple, and then Domi was like, "Yeah, I'll fight you now, David Savard." And then Savard was like, "No, I'm going to keep on my gloves and not fight you."
The
complete
restraint,
chicken shit stuff.
The restraint to not punch him.
Oh,
like that. I think earlier in Domi's career, he would have just started throwing. Mm-hmm. So David Savard's lucky it's 2024.
After that happens, Domi has the puck and he's leaving the zone in the going up the ice. He passes the puck, and right as he passes the puck, the broadcast doesn't even catch it. They don't talk about it after coming back from commercial break. Nothing happens, but you could see when you're in the arena that Alex Newhook completely takes out Domi.
Look where the puck is.
When the puck is gone and Domi goes flying.
Neither skate on the ice. No part of Domi is touching the ice. He got trucked.
The referee in the corner is along this side over here at the other end of the ice. He sees it all happen.
Yeah.
And Domi remains down on the ice. This is why I was shocked that you didn't see this at home, because he was down on the ice for at least 30 seconds. And he limps over to the bench.
And this happens right in front of the bench too.
Oh yeah. Because a whistle happens about a minute after that, and Tavares and Nylander are on the ice, and they immediately go to the referee and they start complaining about this Domi being on the ice, because everybody on the bench stood up and were looking at the refs, being like, "What the hell is happening?"
You could say he's admiring his pass, and I mean, obviously he is.
I think what happened is it was a 4-1 game, and the refs are managing the game.
Look at him down on the ice there.
Managing. So Domi gets hit blindside. You don't call anything. That's managing the game.
Absolutely, that's how they would.
Yeah,
do that.
I 100% agree with Adam that they didn't want more to come about.
They didn't want to seem like they were punishing Montreal, who are a punishing team for their own fans to watch, right?
Damn.
Like they're a bad team, and I want to get into that. Actually, it's a good transition. Unless you have more.
No, I also don't think the refs liked Domi in that situation, because Domi milked it. if I'm being completely transparent, which we always are.
All right, ding him. Give him a call.
He milked it on the ice for remaining down that long in an instance where he clearly wasn't injured. You could tell him that he just got knocked over, but
he embellished.
He wasn't injured, but he laid down so that they would hopefully make a call, and the refs was like, "No, we're not making it. Just get up and go to the bench."
All right, it's a 4-1 game. Call it. Give the Habs a power play. Go for it.
Right, which I don't think is the spirit of how you're supposed to call the rules. Like, I feel like if somebody blindsides a guy, you're supposed, even regardless of if he's laying down for too long, that's the interference. Like, you can't do that. And so I feel like all game the Habs took liberties with Domi, and they tried to goad him from like first whistle to the last whistle. They tried to goad him into everything, and eventually it reached this crescendo where Newhook came up the ice and took him out from behind in his knee, and he laid down there. And the refs wouldn't give him that call because they're like, "This, you've been doing this all game. Let's just chill and let's all go to the dressing room." And
end the game. Yeah. I think
sick job.
I think that is part and parcel of what, and I've got a picture up here. Part and parcel of what's wrong in Montreal this year, and there's a lot wrong in Montreal. Unless you guys have more on the Leafs you want to do. I really want to transition.
You really want.
I'm dying because I think the story for the Leafs this weekend is the power play.
Right. I guess last thing I'll say is like there's a clear benefit to being at the games. Like, it's cool I was I can see that's not didn't make the broadcast.
Yeah.
It's not nobody's talking about that unless you were there and saw all of this unfold. So it's cool that I had that perspective.
Isn't it funny too, by the way, that everybody's talking about how loud the Leaf games are on Amazon Monday Night Hockey, and we find out, they've just made the mics louder. And all these fucking guys who weren't at the games last year in the playoffs, with the exception of Joe Bowen, who's at every game, and I still disagree with Joe on that take, but love Joe. All these guys, it's so quiet in there, We find out that Sportsnet has the mics turned down. Like, listen, I understand the whole lawyer, Bay Street guy in the lower bowl in Toronto.
It could be better.
Yeah,
man.
yo,
it could
we're
be
rich,
better.
we're rich as fuck, right? Like, I get it. And guess what? The reason we're rich as fuck is because of those guys. But what I want to tell you is that it's not as quiet as people are making it. And to call it a funeral home, I think that's just your farming clicks at this point. It's
There are
absolute
some nights. Some nights.
Yeah.
Some nights. Adam, they're getting pumped 6-1 at home.
Yeah. Okay. So I bet Montreal's real loud when they're pumped 6.
No, Steve's not wrong that there are some nights when it's quiet in there. And one thing that Scotiabank has done, which is the thing you're supposed to do when you build a great arena, but also detracts from the fan atmosphere, is they've built a whole bunch of clubs inside of the arena where you can just hang out and watch the game if you have a ticket to the game, which takes people out of their seats. So there are nights where you see spots of the lower bowl and they're just kind of empty because people are at the Scotia Club.
Because they're closing deals.
Or whatever they're doing.
Whatever
they're doing. And there are some nights where it's lacking.
In the Leafs' defense, those things are just a money siphon.
Yeah, well, it's like $20 for a bottle of beer. Like, and no one orders the beer. They're all ordering cocktails, which are double the price.
The less time you're in your seats, the more time you're just gorging.
Yeah.
And they
the
are
food's good.
just tossing money like an Atlanta strip club.
100%. Because it's not their money, it's their corporation.
Yeah.
And the because the arena wasn't built, it's so old, right? They haven't created an atmosphere where you kind of get the both, where you leave the rich people up in kind of the club's area outside, so
keep them in the
actually
box.
In the bowl.
Yes.
Because Scotiabank's so old, they have to do all these renovations inside the actual arena, outside of the bowl. So it's taken away from the fan atmosphere.
One of the things
you can't do anything about that.
One of the things that propelled their wealth, but also took a lot of the vibe away, is a lot of the box seats. And if you don't know this, if you have platinum seats, oftentimes platinum is right near the glass. By the way,
Thank
there
you.
is a box seat underneath the stadium, underneath the stands. So you walk back where you see the players walk back. Well, you can hang out there, and they're like little office cubicles, and they're the most bizarre things. But that's where a lot of them are. It's not. And also the bathrooms at Scotiabank fucking suck, dude. Let's just call it what it is. Why is there a lineup? Why is there a lineup of 200 people and they can't process it fast enough? Because they didn't make the bathrooms fucking big enough.
Just make 500.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I know now that if they were building it today would be done completely differently.
100%.
Nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, and the Intuit Dome that Steve Ballmer built for the Clippers, like that thing is built to keep people in their seats. There's too many bathrooms. Like there's more than enough bathrooms for every single person.
You can just shit in your seat.
Exactly.
You just lift up the seat and you take a shit
There's
right
a toilet
there.
in the seat, and all of their club atmospheres are built so like you have people in the boxes, but like they're outside of the boxes watching the game.
How do you wipe your ass? You don't. There's a bidet built in
if you
with Steve Ballmer's face.
If you compare a stadium that's built in 2024 to one that was built in
95,
96, that was a basketball arena specifically built for basketball and not hockey, you understand why the atmosphere on some nights can suck.
And let me just say this. The ice was really bad this year, or this weekend. And you know why?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's November and it's warmer than they ever predicted it would be. And the ice isn't good at Scotiabank. It's not good. It's never been good because it was a basketball arena.
Yeah, there's some rinks where like you people out there who play hockey play it's better than Scotia.
Oh yeah,
like it's not
the Leafs
not a
practice facility.
Yeah, Ford Performance Center. There's a hockey facility with the best ice in the world.
Now imagine there was only 300 seats available. How expensive would the tickets be then?
The ice at Scotiabank Arena isn't even the best ice with a building that has Scotiabank on it.
No, exactly.
Yeah. In Toronto.
I can talk about that all day.
Yeah. No, I want to say that I'm defensive of Toronto Maple Leaf fans because so much of this is not their fault, and I hate when members of my cohort go, "Be a better fan." Fuck off. I don't think you could find a better group. Hey, let's say that you want to travel around the world, perhaps get on a ship and sail.
Oh, boo.
Aha.
Just boo.
You see, you might need an eSIM. And the reason I said saily there is because you might be sailing around the world and paying a lot of roaming fees that you really don't need to.
Why are you yelling? This is a lot about Saley. What if we just talked about Saley?
Hey, you know what?
In a calm and cool voice.
Do you guys
Saley it's a good product.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you guys like paying way too much
There
money
we
for roaming fees, or do you want an eSIM that is actually extremely affordable and easy and you can use 160?
No, I want the second one.
You want the second?
Yeah.
The second.
Yeah, the second thing.
The
you mentioned.
160 countries Saley or,
Yeah,
the,
that-
or the
that's
high
the one I
roaming
want.
fees? You want that one?
I want that one.
All right. Well, here's what you need to do. Download the app. Saley eSIM plans are compatible with iOS and Android devices, and they work with all smartphones supporting eSIM technology. Multiple plans, 160 countries, 8 regions available to you. Install the eSIM. It's super easy. Even I can do it.
This
I'm
is
trying to keep this down.
nice. This is
All right.
good.
All right.
He's getting excited.
Yeah.
Here's the deal.
He's starting to get
Here's the
excited.
deal. I'm sorry. I'm just a little passionate today. I'm a little passionate.
Okay.
Okay. You can also, if you have any issues, they have a 24-hour chat support.
24
Good.
hours.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Okay.
pretty good.
Now, okay.
good.
That's so much chat.
So here's what I would say.
Okay.
Go to saley.com/dangle. That's Saley. SAILY.com/dangle. 15% off. Enjoy your vacation. Woo! This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, BetterHelp has helped a lot of people. Thousands of people all over the place on their schedule, and that's the key. Are you busy, Steve?
Very.
Jesse, do you do stuff?
No, I got so much free time.
So much free time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, what's running a business anyway?
Nah.
It's nothing. It means you show up whenever you want.
Being a credential reporter.
You do work whenever you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys, needed a therapy session and you needed it at night and you needed it on the phone, you could do that with BetterHelp. You could do it video chat early in the morning. Maybe you're a 4 a.m. wake up. Yeah. You ever heard that? There's a book. It's called 5 a.m. Club, and it's like wake up at 5 a.m. and be successful.
Cool.
Who is it?
You
Mark
don't-
Wahlberg? Who's
He gets up at 2.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in
And he's
every
like,
club.
and then I work out with all my buddies, and then we go. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that, man.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But if you have a ridiculous schedule, BetterHelp might be for you, right? This is the thing. Even Marky Mark could fit this.
Is Mark Wahlberg calling his therapist at 3 a.m.?
I don't know.
I'm up. I'm up. It's time to talk.
And you are too.
Hey, how you doing?
So
Say hi to your mother for me.
we want you to give BetterHelp a try. If therapy is something that you're thinking about, listen, we've all done it, and I continue to do it. Highly
not 3
recommend.
a.m.
BetterHelp.com/STP to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/STP, 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. When it comes to Montreal, another fan group who are known for being some of the best fans in the world.
Yes.
I saw legitimate tweets this weekend with people going, hey, I don't remember Dom Ducharme being this bad. At least he had a system. And guys,
The whispers about St. Louis are getting loud.
and let's just call it what it is. When he was hired, everybody was like, but he has no experience at any level. At any level. Yeah, but he played in the show. At any level.
The stuff about him working with Cole Caulfield and making Caulfield better, I love that. That's an assistant coach.
That's a performance coach.
It's a performance
That's not
coach.
an assistant coach. Assistant coach has systems.
I know. I don't have a problem with St. Louis being in the Habs organization. Head coach, I'm not sure, bro.
And the thing was, when he took over, Dom Ducharme was coming off of a different, you got to remember, they came off of a Stanley Cup appearance. And then instantly the next year they were bad. And people were like, well, wait a second, it must be the head coach. And then the objectives of the situation changed very, very quickly. Bergevin's gone by Christmas, so Dom Ducharme's guy is gone. The new crew comes in, and the vibes are terrible. You're scratching a guy like Cole Caulfield, which honestly
was horrible.
Horrible idea. And at that point, you're still like, you've signed Hoffman. You have Dvorak. You have these guys that you expect to do well for you. Josh Anderson still in that contract. This is 3 years ago. And what does Marty St. Louis come in and do? He comes in and does what Sheldon did when Sheldon Keefe came in. Sheldon Keefe came in and was like, hey, guys, let's just focus on vibes.
Let's all feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, we should start there. Caulfield starts scoring. Suzuki looks better. Look at that. It's amazing.
He's done some good things.
The problem is, last year you go through it and you go, well, the mistakes, they don't matter as much. We expect to be bad, whatever.
Guys are hurt.
And Nick Suzuki comes in and says, before the start of the year this year, I'm looking forward to the mistakes mattering, which I think is a really important microcosm of what's happened.
If you're trying to make the playoffs, they matter now.
Well, they're not trying to make the playoffs though.
Sure they are. Sure they are.
They can't be.
Sure that this is what I was fighting
surely
against.
You can't be. You got to be kidding me.
This
That you
is what
think
I
that
was
This
fighting
roster
against.
could ever have made the playoffs.
Absolutely, they could.
Absolutely not.
They could have
No way.
competed
No way.
for
And
it,
I'll
for
give
God's
you,
sake.
okay, they could not have competed for it. They were never that good. That was all media hype from the get-go. I got a bunch of shit from Habs fans earlier this season, before the season started.
Well,
I was
because
like,
I said they need to take a step.
And you got
were
shit
like,
for that.
bullshit.
And then I said, listen, they've got this guy, they got this guy, they're improved, whatever. And people were like, you left out Kirby Dach. You mean Kirby Dach, who's got 5 points in 14 games, that Kirby Dach? Why does he have that? Is it because he's a bad player? No, it's because he missed most of last year with an injury, and it takes a fucking minute.
Yeah.
And you also, when you realize, oh man, okay, the mistakes matter now. Our fans expect us to win.
Yeah.
The media expects us to win. You need to have a guy who has a solution for that. And I'm not sure that they do. And it's not just Marty St. Louis. It's his coaching staff, and it's
The
this
defensive personnel are awful.
and by the way, do you not think some of those mistakes that they had last year were covered by a very good goalie in Jake Allen, who is no longer there? Jake Allen is a much better goalie than people give him credit for.
The last we saw Montembeault, he made a 47 save shutout. His season since night one has been horrendous.
It's amazing how the Leafs, they changed the way they play and stopped making bad
But-
goalies look good.
But
And he's not a bad goalie long term.
no,
Like,
the shots. Okay, let's look at the goals the Leafs got. Did Montembeault get the slightest bit of help on any of them? No. The defense aren't helping the forwards. The forwards aren't helping the defense. A lot of people are goofing on Lane Hudson and his defensive ability and all that. And the Nylander goal, he got turnstiled and everything. It's a rookie.
He's a rookie. That happens.
It's a rookie. And you got to insulate him with what exactly?
David Savard,
David Savard.
who won't go Domi, who he's way bigger than.
Matheson was it's similar to the conversation. I mean, maybe not totally similar, but with Matthews, I keep saying, what's the expectation here? That he scores 69 again? No, you got to have a contingency for if he gets less than that. Matheson, how many points did he have last year?
A lot.
Or over the last couple? Okay, so what if he doesn't pull that off again? The personnel back there is brutal. Kent Hughes has done a really good job. You gotta fix that, dude.
And I think, it's been interesting because, Suzuki is a good centerman.
Of course.
But what do you have after him? You've got Evans, you've got Dvorak, and as of today, you've got Kandata. And I look at this and I go, okay, so the rest of the lineup, you don't even have Caulfield playing with Suzuki. Oh, wow. The puns are outrageous today.
Caulfield. Wow.
You have Doc playing with Suzuki and Slavkovsky. You got Caulfield, Evans, Newhook. Newhook, who, by the way, was traded to Montreal to be their second-line center behind. And then Doc, who was traded to Montreal to be their second or third-line center behind Nick Suzuki. Neither of those guys today are playing center. And then you got Christian Dvorak and Gallagher and Anderson. And by the way, Gallagher and Anderson are part of the furniture at this point. Gallagher is a heart and soul guy.
Gallagher's got 7 goals.
I know. Anderson is an untradeable deal.
Yep. Unfortunately.
And unless you're retaining.
Dude, not Anderson, sorry. There's 3 players who are minus 10 or worse on the Habs who have played 15
That's
games.
insane. That's insane.
Newhook, 4 goals, 0 assists, -10 in 15 games. So these guys have played every game.
How many points does he have?
4.
Oh my God.
Joel Armia, who has some points, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 15
It's about
games.
what you can expect from him.
-11. And Kirby Dach in 15 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points, -14.
Yes, and I give him a pass because he missed most of last year. This team, so I did a little deep dive quickly.
Oh, boy.
Team is currently last place in the NHL. That's right, behind the Ducks, who are somehow worse this year than they were last year, and the San Jose Sharks, who got Macklin
And
back.
Lucas Dostal is playing absolutely out of
they had
his
a good win
frigging
last night.
mind.
The
Yeah.
Ducks had a good win last night over Columbus.
Yeah, he is playing. They have one of the best goalies in the NHL straight up.
Yeah.
In Lucas Dostal.
And so I looked into this and I thought, okay, this has got to be, what is this? So here's what it is. It's interesting because you'd think it would be special teams. But currently the Habs are 15th in PK percentage, which is really good
That's fine.
for a team like that.
Middle of the pack.
13th in power play percentage.
Above middle of the pack.
But they're allowing 4.13 goals per game. And their shot differential, and this is where it's a 5-on-5 issue, their shot differential is tied with San Jose and Anaheim. And what do you think it might be?
In 15 games, -75.
-103.
Gee.
It's a lot.
This team,
Goodness gracious.
this team has got to figure out, like, you look at the Habs even as a developing team, and I go, what are you?
And well,
What are you aspiring to be? Are you a fast-paced, high-opportunity team? Are you a grind 'em out, slug 'em out team? Clearly not. You're soft as baby shit.
well, they're not good enough to do anything right now. And this is the
But you have to have a goal to aspire to be. So what do you at least want to be?
like Arbor Jacki, I think we can agree is top 5 toughest guys in the NHL.
He's not playable on any team that's going to win.
This is the thing. Like, I feel like part of the reason he's not fighting, one, I mean, people probably don't want to. 2, they probably want him on the ice. 3, he can't prove how good he is to the team, and he can't be in the lineup every night unless he proves how good of a defenseman he is, and he can't do that from the box. Most teams, I feel like, don't really want their defensemen fighting on account of there's only 6.
I think he's going to be a forward at some point.
Yeah, and I don't think it'd be the worst deal, but like we've had the conversation with the Leafs where, okay, we're tough now because we got Wayne Simmons. No, you're the Leafs, and you have a guy who is tough. Same with Kyle Clifford, same with Ryan Reeves, same with Matt Martin, same with blah, blah, blah. Now we're looking at them and we're like, hey, you kind of, like, you have toughness throughout the lineup. That's great. I kind of look at the Habs and wonder about the same thing. Like, they just have guys. They're a compilation of men as opposed to a team. Do they have some injuries? Yeah, yes. Every team in the NHL is dealing with something. Most of them something significant. And literally all of them are better. They're in a world of hurt. Primo, I think, is better than people hoped. Montembeault is probably better than people hoped. They're not scoring as much as people hoped, probably, except for Caulfield. That D-core can't last another week, frankly. Like, they're at this weird stage in their rebuild where there's no... most teams who are rebuilding, there's not much incentive to spend picks to get better. So you're just going to keep icing this?
Well, are you going to keep icing rookie defensemen? Look at what happened in Buffalo.
You're drowning the poor kid.
That's exactly it. And you got 2 young-ish goalies who...
And what's Buffalo got, though? They got the 3rd star of the week in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He's one of the best goalies in the league
That's
right now.
great, but look at how many years and years
Yes.
where they drowned their defensemen.
But what I'm trying to say is even they
Have that.
and that's another Atlantic Division team. Ottawa's starting to do some things.
Yep.
Where are you other than the bottom of the ocean?
And you made no efforts really to augment either position this offseason. This is essentially the same group because you thought Gooley's in, Hudson's in, and we traded Jake Allen for picks. You know, guys like, I know Kevin Lankinen was waiting for like a starting position, but he would be the best goalie on this team right now. And that's like an easy one. There are easy signings out there where you have to pay a little bit more, but it's for 2 years. The whole point of extending Jake Allen was so he would stick it out through this. So when teams are in a bad situation like this, you have a veteran guy back there. But instead last year, they were like, you know what? Let's take the picks.
Yeah, dude, you gotta, at some point in your rebuild, people want to see results. And there's a reason why we're not just looking at the Habs being last and going, yeah, but it's not a big deal. Like, that's what I didn't like about the discourse from our season previews, is I was like, they need to take a step. And you guys were like, what for? Look around. All Habs fans are concerned. They're not happy about this.
Listen, nobody thought they'd be this bad. They're listless.
Yes.
I projected them to finish 7th or 8th, whatever it was.
Yeah, because everyone around them is actually trying to win.
Yeah.
And
that's why we were like, hey, I don't expect them to compete for a playoff spot. I expect them to take a step.
One thing, yeah, but I mean, like, be within 8 points of a spot come March 1st. You know what I mean? Like
Tough order.
that is a be within single digits of the playoffs by the beginning of of March. Are you going to make it? Probably not. Could you? Yes. You know what I mean? They're not close. We have talked about this before. I do think there's an effect when you have a player like Connor Bedard who's available, where you can tell there's a bunch of teams that are just like, you know what? Let's stink. We're not going to make it. Let's tank for this kid. Celebrini, I think there was a similar effect, just not nearly as pronounced. This year you got 29 teams trying to win, 30? And it's not good, man. It's not good. And like, yeah, I know I'm a Leaf fan. I'm not saying this to hammer them. I think the Habs fans who listen to the show know that. I'm talking as like a hockey fan who is concerned with that they're doing really poorly.
I would
at
ask
what they're doing.
management what their realistic expectations were. Like, you look at a guy like Slafkovsky, he's got a goal this year. He's 20 years old, and people are like, fraud. I don't think he's a fraud. I think this guy's going to be a great player.
He's a great player.
But expecting Uriah Slafkovsky to be your top line left winger every night and put up 20 goals at 20 years old and have next to no support behind him, I think that's unfair.
Yes, of course. They took a bunch of bets, like reasonable bets, and surrounded them with nothing. And also, what if those bets don't work out? What if, like Kirby Dach, like you said, coming off the injury, Newhook, like these are all, what if they are all just sort of fine? Like, remember for how long the Leafs had guys who were expected to play in the top six and like top line? And then Matthews, Nylander, Hyman, like
Brown,
Marner, all these guys, all these young guys come in and they supplant the old guys and push them down in the lineup. And all of a sudden, hey, this is pretty deep. Montreal sort of has that, except like they haven't been pushed down by elite talent. They don't have enough of it, especially on the back end. And like, you could look up front and be like, well, there's Caulfield, there's Slav, there's back end. Like you have to surround Hudson with something. This kid's special. If he's as special as everyone is saying, you have to protect him, and they're not protecting him at all.
Jesse?
The only thing I'd say from that is Patrick Laine is a part of that conversation.
Okay.
You guys talking about the forward group. He's been noticeably absent from the things you're talking about. The other thing, Adam, you mentioned St. Louis, like in his job and his experience. He got a contract extension for 3 years in April.
Oh.
I forgot that happened, but yeah, so he's going to be sticking around. They're going to be at least paying him for 3 years. We'll see how long he sticks around. And the experience thing, I think is of note to go back and just remember when he was hired that he was even shocked that he got the job of head coach. He's good friends with Gorton and Hughes for many years,
Not
for a long time.
Sign,
so there's a relationship there, and that's obviously why they went with him. They know him. But when he was initially hired back in February of 2022, he did an interview with the Montreal Gazette about his family and his time outside of hockey. And he said he spent about 6 years away from the professional game in between retirement and getting the job. But one thing he noted is that it's something he's been preparing for about 10 years, to be a head coach one day in the National Hockey League. He figured that once his kids were out of the house, I was going to be a coach. Now, this is quoting St. Louis. He said, now, would it be an assistant coach in the NHL? Would it be a head coach in the American League? College? I don't know. But the only way I was leaving what I was doing with my kids early was if I got a job, I got a head coach job in the NHL, and the percentage of that, sorry, I can't talk, was very slim. So St. Louis, moments after he got hired, acknowledged that the chances of him getting hired to do this job was very slim, and that he expected himself to start in the American League or at a university level or as an assistant. So it's a shocker to everybody that he's in this position right now, and I think including himself. But I think they have him locked up, and they'll keep going with him because they're in the rebuild, and I don't think there's an expectation for him to win.
He has one of the craziest years I've ever seen on a staff profile on eliteprospects.com.
What is it?
his 2021-22 season, he is an assistant coach with the Mid-Fairfield Rangers U13 AAA team. And then later that season was head coach of the Montreal Canadiens.
So in Connecticut, he coached. That's the Youth Hockey Association of Mid Fairfield, Connecticut. He coached his 3 sons, Ryan, Lucas, and Mason. That was also in this article, who were 18, 16, and 14. So he's literally coaching teenage boys hockey, and then from there was hired to be the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens.
During 18-19, while being the head coach of that team, so I guess he took a step back later on, he was a team consultant for the Blue Jackets. Like, that's his only NHL experience as an staff member, I guess. I was going to say executive, but that's not an executive.
No. So we went over all of this when he was hired. I think it was a shock to most people that he's going from 0 to the biggest job you can have as a head coach in planet Earth. So I think that it's worth bringing up again, seeing where they are right now, knowing what he's coming from. But we can't not acknowledge that he's also done a decent job through his first foray as a head coach.
Well, a decent job managing a young group, yes. But I think the question, Jesse, will come down, at least for me, is, okay, now you got problems. Who's got a solution? And if it's not Marty, then I think you got a real problem.
I don't know if Scotty Bowman's doing anything with that decor. They got to get better.
But they made no change. And yes, I know that Line A is missing from this, but who's Line A playing with? Evans? Dvorak?
I mean,
like, what are we doing here, guys? We're debating, like, hey, which project are we going to put with Patrick Laine? Which is the exact conversation we had in Columbus with Patrick Laine. Hey, maybe they should try him at center. Has anyone tried that?
You got to be so busted up for me to be like, all right, well, they're injured. The Avalanche, for example.
They're injured.
Who, at one point, a few weeks ago, I'm like, they have no players. No one's playing tonight. They have to cancel the game.
Yep.
Like, Montreal, okay. That's bad. It is bad. It's bad. You acquired this player with, I talked about you got to add to this team at some point. They did with Patrick Laine. And then you lose him. Okay, you're at where you were last year. You're worse. Like, you're clearly worse. It's bad, man. It's bad. How do you get better? How do you finish? How do you possibly finish better than where you were last year?
That's a really good question. I mean, quite literally, unless they're willing to go spend an ad. Like, I wondered about a guy like Dante Fabro, if they would have put a claim in on him.
Sure. Who got him? Columbus?
Columbus did. And I thought,
well, we're over a month into the season. Wouldn't the Habs have waiver priority over
Columbus?
Yeah.
I don't know who had it. That was my question.
He makes 2.5.
Who cares? On the Canadiens?
I don't know.
Who cares? Why do you care?
Okay.
He makes 2.5. Oh, you're right. Well, you know what? Better not try it.
No. Silly question. Do they have cap room?
Good question. Not silly question.
I never know with them.
Columbus clearly does.
Apparently they do, yes.
Well, they have the most cap room in the league. The Montreal Canadiens have current cap space, $7.6 million.
Oh, shit.
So ALS is something we've talked about on this show before, and we actually have a listener that reached out. His name's Jason. His dad, Matt, was diagnosed with ALS, and I
met them in London.
Oh, you met them in London? Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's really good to see them.
Yeah, and the thing is you have a 1 in 350 person chance of being diagnosed with ALS before you turn 85. The cause is still not even known. We don't know where it comes from or why it's here. 80% of people with ALS die within 3 years of being diagnosed, and right now there are 4,000 families living with ALS in Canada. So this is one of those things that we want to raise money for. If you've got an extra few bucks, alssuperfund.ca or alsactioncanada.org. You can even buy t-shirts and that sort of thing. It doesn't have to just be a donation. The links are in the description. But for Jason and for his dad, obviously we want to fundraise for them as much as we possibly can.
I remember when they brought Borje Salming to the Scotiabank Arena, and they honored him, and when he was diagnosed with ALS and all that stuff, and just to see somebody who was such a stature in the game, who was a hard-nosed player, for this disease to affect him in that way, like, it was so sad. And it doesn't care about who you are, you know. And
he was jacked into his 60s.
oh yeah, and just to see how quickly it got him, and now he's passed.
Yes, and quickly, and that's the key, right? And Jason's dad is completely dependent on basically his caregivers for everything.
Yeah.
There's not a single thing he can do independently anymore. And this is a person that was functioning normally like you or I several years ago. And I think it's a cause that's not hard to get behind. So if you got a few extra bucks, we would love if you would donate it to the ALS Super Fund. Link is in the description. Let's move on to the general manager meetings in Toronto. There are two things that Elliot Friedman reported are under review, and one of them is the replay reviews and the amount of time it takes. Elliot mentioned one between Florida and Philly earlier that day that took 5 minutes and 13 seconds to review, which just kills the flow of the game.
Too much, man.
I go back to there's technology in these pucks that could eliminate a lot. Like this one in particular was, I believe, a puck over glass / net situation.
Yeah.
And here's what you can do. You can do the same thing that they do in tennis and have the sensors along the top of the board, and then you know.
So, Adam, I think the solution is even simpler than that. Like, that's smart. Yeah, that's something they should implement. Here's what it is. If you can't figure it out, regardless of what technology is involved,
Call on the ice stands.
If you can't figure it out within 3 minutes, call on the ice stands.
3 minutes? That's too much time.
Well, what's he proposing?
Ellie didn't propose anything. He all he said was, I'm a get the call right guy.
If 3 is the maximum, fine. I'm okay with 3.
How many times per game is 3 allowable?
Yeah, that's fair. I would say I'm not overly concerned about that, because how often do you see multiple reviews, unless it's a game in New Jersey? Mm-hmm. That was insane a few years ago when that happened. 3 is a maximum I'm comfortable with. 5 plus, get out of my face. What are we doing here?
Yep.
It just shouldn't take that long.
The other thing, unless Jesse, you want to add to that, I thought this was the more interesting one, the replay review. It's like, yeah, we get it. They're boring. Is LTIR and the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he said this, one of the topics I think is a big deal among some GMs is, can they fix the playoff roster issue? When the cap goes away, you can stack your roster. Is there something that can be done or needs to be done to guard against that? Now, I want you to ask yourself a question. Mm-hmm. Why does the NHL, once the teams stop paying the players, because you have to remember, the teams do not pay the players past game 82.
It's just bonuses.
And that comes from the NHL.
Yep.
Why would you want to?
I don't like that because it's a little semantics.
Well, the reason I say this is, why would you want? So the cap applies to the 82 game schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so many games.
Why would you want to keep stars out of the playoffs? Okay, you know what? Let's not do the playoffs with Nikita Kucherov. Oh, let's not do the playoffs with Mark Stone. I don't understand. And none of these teams, by the way, are broke anymore. None of them are broke anymore. So anybody that's telling you, like even the Jets, who set money on fire year over year, are gaining significant money in asset value. Okay? And that's what these guys, these billionaires, that's what they care about. They don't care about losing $25 million. They care about their team going up by 30% year over year, which happened to all of them this year. The only team that couldn't have afforded to stack players on LTIR and then bring them in the first round would have been the Arizona Coyotes, who had legitimate cash flow issues. They don't exist. What are we talking about here?
I think, no, Adam, you're ignoring the main argument against it, which is wah. I think
that's the main argument.
Wah.
Who cares?
There's not we've talked about the legitimacy of the spirit of competition, and it's just not priority 1, 2, or even 3. Yeah, why would you keep players out of the playoffs? They've been doing this for years.
We need to be cap compliant with a cap that no longer exists in the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, the Blackhawks, dynasty or whatever of the early 2010s, doesn't happen without 2 illegal contracts.
Yeah,
they had Marian Hossa and Duncan Keith, 2 players who were instrumental. Keith especially. Keith won a Conn Smythe. who were instrumental to those cups, who, had they signed there as free agents, the contracts would have been illegal. But, Hossa did sign there as a free agent. I mean, after the 2012-13 lockout, they made them illegal. Both of them retired early, by the way. Keith was traded early to the Edmonton Oilers. I think there was some sort of weird cap recapture controversy there. I can't remember exactly what it was. Hossa retired early. Yes, he had a skin issue that he had the whole time. He retired exactly when the contract was designed for him to retire. We're not going to rehash that whole thing. If you have a league with a hard cap, they are always going to try to find ways to finagle it. I'm more surprised that the salary deferral wasn't a bigger issue.
Well, it's part of the CBA. There's nothing they can do about that.
Yeah, but
and so
isn't
this.
The whole discussion we're gonna
and
going forward we don't want it anymore?
This is where I think it's hilarious because the NHLPA is going to say no, that's not how it's written.
Okay, and Gary just goes in his little notebook and he goes, all right, 2026.
Yeah, oh for sure. But I don't see why Gary would even be pro holding teams to the salary cap in the playoffs. You would are you serious?
Yeah,
You'd have to go into a playoff game and a team's like, man, I don't know how we're going to ice a lineup because the cap that ended 2 months ago is applying here. This is stupid.
I bet he's
What are
real
we doing?
broken up that Tampa and Vegas have enjoyed recent success.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
They're not going to do it, guys. They're not going to do it.
And some GMs, which broke ass GMs are worried about this? Honestly, one of the teams that really legitimately struggles with money issues when they're bad are the Anaheim Ducks. Are the Anaheim Ducks anywhere close to the playoffs? Then it doesn't matter. If you haven't made the playoffs in the last 3 years, I'm not even interested in hearing what you have to say. Why? Most of the teams that are in the playoffs now have been in the playoffs multiple times in the regular. There hasn't been a lot of switchover. Also, there's been a lot of teams rebuilding for an extremely long time. Who cares what they have to say? They're not in the playoffs.
What are the burger buns holding the Vegas Stanley Cup championship together? Missed the playoffs, first round exit, while doing the same strategy all 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't always work. I mean, yeah, you take the cup and the two shitty.
And occasionally you get traded. You try to trade for a guy that can't be traded to you because it's the no trade list. And
yeah, but that was the Sens' fault.
Yeah,
that was the Sens' fault, and they got dinged for it. It was one of the poors. It was one of the poor.
You see, they're the ones that caused the
trouble. Those troublemakers, right? No, the NHL isn't going to fix this.
It's just dumb that's even coming up. Okay, well, table the motion. All right, all in favor, and literally, you're going to see Foley, you're going to see Jacobs, Jacobs Jr. by the way, who's now running the team. You're going to see I don't think the Leafs even do it, but they should.
Overage into the playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, they just haven't had the opportunity. I think they would.
Sure,
of course they would. They got Brandon Pridham there, and all the money in the world. Of course they would.
I just think that's so stupid, the idea that we're going to leave Stars out of the playoffs because of a cap issue. Fuck off.
No.
In the name of fairness. The cap's there to keep things fair. No, it's there to make the owners money, which they are.
If the Leafs are doing well and Matthews gets hurt a month before the playoffs, they would do the same thing. Why not? No.
Well, yeah, because we need Austin in March, April. Yeah, no.
There's a bunch of teams that have done it, and there's a bunch that obviously would if they had the opportunity.
Yeah.
You're telling me Montreal is a better team? They're making the playoffs. They wouldn't try this shit?
Of course they would.
Of course they would. Chicago did it for years. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. Now, Matvei Michkov did not sit one game, gentlemen. He sat two. And that was bad for my fantasy team.
Shit.
Just by a whisker did I win this weekend. We talked about it on Friday. We talked about it a lot last week. And I'm curious to know, is missing one game I can believe is part of the process. Missing two feels like a message.
It's funny. I had this conversation with myself.
The Flyers are better without him.
No, they're not. But the conversation I had with myself is, all right, one game is the process. 2 is a little bit of process, a little bit of message. 3 is a problem.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to sit 3 straight. I just don't think that helps anybody. 3 straight to me is a problem. And like, it's funny that this is happening in Philadelphia with all the Joel Embiid discourse. Like if you're a Sixers fan, you buy a Sixers ticket, you want to see Joel friggin' Embiid. If I'm a Flyers fan, I'm not, with respect to Bobby Brink.
By the way, his middle name is Orr.
You're kidding.
So a Philly fan messaged me over the weekend. They're like, "You think Bobby Brink's a great name? His middle name is Bobby Orr,
Which makes
so
his
it's Bobby
initials
Orr
Bob.
Brink."
His initials are Bob.
Yeah, his initials are Bob.
Bobby or Brink.
Apparently, yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to the game to see Bobby or Brink. I'm going to see Matvey Michkov. Right?
Yeah.
That's part of going to a Flyers game this year. Part of the price of admission. I'd like to see them win. You don't always get to pick that. But you can go safely assuming our healthy star rookie is playing. He should be playing.
Jess.
They won against Tampa in a shootout. They lost against Florida in a shootout. So you have Philly play 2 really good teams. You get 3 of 4 points. I don't blame John Tortorella for not messing with the lineup.
Yeah, trade him. Trade him for futures.
That's what I said.
No, I know. I know.
I don't blame the head coach for sticking with something that's worked 2 games in a row.
Well, Matvey, we've won. So therefore,
Next, they play the Sharks. I think tonight or tomorrow.
Why not put him in the lineup and let him hang 3 on the Sharks?
The
Today
Sharks,
it's
who are playing decent hockey, 5-2 in their last 7.
Yeah, but they're
So-
not playing Blackwood tonight. They're playing whoever the other guy is.
Who's standing on his head. So I think, like, I don't know. If he wants to keep a lineup that's winning, I don't know what you can really say.
Is it in Philly?
No, it's in San Jose.
All right, fine. If it was in Philly, I'd make more of a stink about it. But, gee, I don't know. Like, okay, if it's really part of the process, throw him in there.
No, it's in Philly. Sorry.
Oh, it is in Philly. Yeah,
Sorry.
throw him in.
I did that backwards.
You have home ice advantage against a tired Sharks team. Put the kid in.
It's tonight. Sharks are on the second half of a back-to-back. They played the Devils yesterday, where they won 1-0. And then tonight they play the Flyers in Philly. And I don't know, same lineup, right?
Adam, where were you when a Sheldon Keefe coach team got a 44 save shutout against them?
oh man, it's my whole.
I mean, I
career.
know this. The Craig Berube era literally started with that.
Yeah, but
But,
that was a leftover.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
So if you go hypothetical tonight, Flyers beat the Sharks 4-3.
With or without him?
Without him, 4-3. They run the same lineup, 4-3. That's 5 points out of 6 over the last 3 games when Michkov isn't in there. How do you
4
justify
points,
shaking
but
up?
still,
How do you justify?
No, because it's
didn't they lose 2 in shootout?
they won one of those games.
Oh, they won one of the.
yeah,
3 or
yeah,
4.
yeah. They
My
beat
bad, my
Tampa
bad.
in a shootout. They
My bad.
lost to Florida in a shootout. So
So what needs to happen what needs to happen to get Michkov back in? What if they go on a fucking heater? They win 10 straight. Does he just not
if
play?
if I add to this narrative as well, Anthony Richards scored.
Oh,
I love that, though. I do love that.
He scored against Florida.
I do love that.
Like, I feel like that's also an important part of the story because
Yeah.
he's the one who went in for Michkov.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
If this were the
That's
Leafs,
so old coach thing.
If this were the Leafs, I don't think you'd be screaming as much if they were just winning and the guy who was put in the lineup is scoring.
He's a 5th overall pick.
No,
Or whatever
if they were the
7th.
shitty Flyers, you would. Like if the Leafs were the shitty Leafs, which we.
I don't know if they want to be the shitty Flyers.
I will say
I think
this.
they want to win games.
I will say this.
Sports does.
2 hours ago, it was reported that Michkov will be in and Ryan Poehling will be in as well. Samuel Harrison will start. Frost and Drysdale are out.
Okay, so
Damn.
that's fascinating because they're leaving in Richard. So
Maurice.
he gets his place in the lineup, and they're scratching other guys in replace of Michkov, which I think makes more sense.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
'Cause,
No,
like,
that makes sense.
can you imagine? Torts was so hard-headed that he's like, well, we're winning. We can't put him in. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
The Flyers are going to trade Frost at some point, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know where it just doesn't seem to be working with what they're trying to do and what he is. And, sometimes a coach is just not your guy.
Well, that pertains to Drysdale as well.
Well-
where the Flyers make this big deal and Torts is like, that's nice.
Well, I
He
also
doesn't care about that player at all.
No, and I think that's because, and when the Flyers got him and Flyers fans were like, Drysdale, he's great, whatever, it's bigging him up. I'm like, this guy's a career 5-6.
No, the ceiling is higher than that.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not Cutter Gauthier high. That was not a good trade. Like, when are we going to... I said it at the time, I say it now, it's not a good trade.
Well, Gauthier hasn't been good either.
And they sewered him. They sewered him on the way out. Yeah, but okay, we want to talk about ceiling.
I'm just going to say, you were clowning on Gauthier because he had a really tough start to the season.
Who was clowning me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Flyers fans. If Drysdale's sitting, you got to eat it a little.
No, it's Philadelphia.
You got to eat it a little.
They're not going to eat that.
You got to eat it a little.
He didn't want to play there. So I don't know how you can sewer the deal when he didn't want to be there. Like I feel like they came
you can
out,
wait and trade him for good value.
Jamie, I feel like they came out as best as they could with the Drysdale deal.
Well, they
I'll
would sure
always
tell you
defend that. I'll tell you that too. Like I'll defend that deal. I think it's decent, but I think having him out of the lineup for the Sharks is interesting for sure. And then Michkov back in there on the third line with Richard is fascinating.
Jamie Drysdale has played. He played 24 games with the Flyers last year and 15 this year. Please help me do math. 39 career games with the Flyers. What's his plus minus as a Flyer?
Drysdale?
Yeah, Jamie Drysdale.
I assume
In
it's
39 games.
in 39 games.
Spoiler, it is poor.
I'll,
That information.
I'll take about half. So let's go minus 19.
Minus 19. Okay. Adam, what do we got?
I mean, minus 19 seems intense.
Couldn't be that bad.
I don't think it could because I was
probably
talking about the
worse.
Montreal Canadiens,
No,
and it was
leading
like
you on, it's worse.
it was like the worst one you could come up with. Kirby Dog was minus 14, so that's what I'll do.
Minus 14. He is minus 10 this year in 15 games. Last year in 24 games, he was minus 18. He is minus 28 in 39 games as a Flyer.
Steve has been on a plus minus kink.
I've been on a plus
and I
minus
don't
kick
like it because it doesn't mean anything.
No, at the beginning of the season, you get the weird ones. At the beginning of the season, you get the weird ones.
It means so little.
It's fun.
He's right.
It's fun.
Jesse's right, but also it's kind of fun.
Okay. Okay. Here it is. The deadline on looking at plus minus is American Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It's like right after Labor Day. No plus minus after American Thanksgiving, but we're not there yet.
Hold on. Why?
Because it's arbitrary and I made it up.
I remember Stamkos last year had a really goofy plus minus because the majority of his points come on the power play.
Right.
I seem to remember Adam cared about that.
So
I seem to remember Adam
it's
thought it was legitimate back then. I seem to remember that.
last season Stamkos was a minus 21 despite putting up 81 points, 40 goals, 41 assists. And it's just because he doesn't score at 5-on-5 a whole bunch. So he's a minus 21, which doesn't say anything about his game, you know?
I agree, Jesse.
It's pretty
I
meaningless.
too agree.
Adam didn't agree way back when, but
Fourth worst plus minus. Roman Yossi. We need to start a dialogue. We need to start a dialogue. Is he the worst player in the NHL?
He's bad.
You got to ask the question.
He's bad.
You got to ask. You just have to ask.
Very quickly, there is a bit of a Hufflepuff online.
A Hufflepuff.
A Hufflepuff online right now between Montreal Canadiens media, which I love. It's delicious. And it's French and English, so it's a little bit spicy. It's actually more French than English, but Georges Laraque reported this morning that he had photographic proof that the Montreal Canadiens met with Gerard Gallant or something like that. And Renaud Lavoie has come out and said nobody's met with Gerard Gallant. And he said, and Renaud said this while saying in Toronto or anywhere else. because what was apparently said was that they met with him in Toronto, so it wouldn't be in Montreal and they wouldn't be noticed. Which I'm like, it's fucking Toronto.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Let's
people
lay
don't know who Gerard
low.
Gallant is. Yeah, yeah. You know that nothing city like Toronto doesn't know who Gerard Gallant is, who's been on TV here many times.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
So I'm gonna go with Lavoie on this one and say that it probably didn't happen, but that's where we're at with the media situation in Montreal. So I just thought that was just a nice little microcosm. That happened this morning.
Anyone can just go to games. Anyone can just go to games. Didn't they show Pierre Dorian on the TV the other night? He was just at a game.
Yeah.
Just at a game. You're allowed to go to games.
Yeah, sure you are.
That's silly.
Who was the? I saw a GM. Was it Friday?
Dorian,
I
wasn't
texted you guys.
Maybe it was you.
I want to look up who it is.
Oh, Sweeney.
It was Don. Yeah, on Saturday, Don Sweeney was there.
Yeah, Sweeney was at the Leafs-Habs game, which means trade.
Trade incoming.
Trade
Yeah.
incoming.
Well,
There
that
it
has to be. I want to take a quick moment here and talk about the Easter Seals tournament, guys, which I was not at because I felt I was struggling last week.
Adam
not
doesn't.
well.
Adam, what did you say to the kids?
Fuck them kids. That's what I said.
Michael Jordan.
As I usually say with my mustache.
Yes.
So, what was
He made off with like a burlap sack just full of
I'm
money
one
with
of
like
the-
little bills flying out of it.
I'm a sticky bandit from Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
I'm raiding the toy store.
Michael Jordan famously said, or the myth goes that he was running a kids camp.
Yes.
And they said if you miss any one of these free throws, he's going to take 3 free throws, and if you miss anyone, all the kids here get free shoes. And Michael Jordan made all 3 free throws because he's like, I'm not going to miss on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm Michael Jordan. And the quote is, fuck them kids.
Yeah. Now that I don't know if this have ever been corroborated, but it's one of the
Yeah.
best myths out there. Sometimes, what do they say with what they used to say with ancient history, like with these stories, is what you must know is you have to believe it. And I think with certain sports lore stories, it's like, I got to believe that.
I believe it.
Because even if it's not true, it sure captures the man, and his competitive streak. So you guys played. Apparently, producer Hayden was an ace in the hole.
Man, great player. Maddie was. She's like, I don't know if I'm that good. I'm like, I saw you do backwards crossovers. That means you're a legend in my eyes.
So tell me about how the tournament went, and the money raised was record breaking.
Yeah, it's crazy. So thank you to everyone for donating to Rachel's Raiders. We finished first again, $52,000 raised as a team. I think it climbed a little bit after the deadline. I mean, there is no deadline. There's the like whoever's the top fundraiser deadline, but like there's no deadline on
Donating.
to this cause. It's a 365-day thing and 366 every 4 years. As a tournament, we raised over $750,000, which is mind-blowing, mind-numbing, insane. A number of things went for over $5,000 at auction. One of them was Taylor Swift box seats that went for, I think it was a pair of them for $6,500.
Box seats.
Yeah, a lot of us thought they would be going for more. But still,
Boxes at the
$6,500.
Sky Dome suck ass.
Oh,
so
they're bad.
That's,
Oh, is that why?
that's one
They're
way
so
to
bad.
spend money.
Maybe that's why. I want to talk about these bracelets later, but they're not related to Easter seals. We had Chris Chelios as our alumni. Adam, I wish you were there for Chris Chelios.
I bet he was great.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, really good. He so at the luncheon afterward, Eric Lindros was interviewing Ron McLean, flipping that sort of dynamic on its head. And Eric goes, "So Ron, I want to ask you about Gary Bettman." And Chelios is sitting next to me. He just goes, "Boo!" It was awesome. Babcock stories for days,
Yeah.
even some that like I had never heard before.
And Babcock, bad guy.
Bad. Oh, he'd used the
Very
BG.
bad guy.
He used the BG on him.
Yeah.
If a hockey player, that's like their number one.
Oh man,
This
that's
person
the worst
is the
It's
devil.
the worst thing you can say. Yeah.
And former NHL players, they say bad guy. First thing out of his mouth, Babcock, bad guy. Great stories. The craziest thing Chelios said, I don't remember if you were there for this part. I go, Chelly, because I'm a loser. How many times have you been under the knife? And he goes 7 times, and I go, whoa, for this knee. He pointed at one of his knees. I can't remember which one. He's been under the knife 7 times. He goes 2 for this one. I've had a few sports hernia things. He was talking about he hasn't got his hip replaced yet.
It's coming.
But it's coming. He's 62. And he was playing great out there. I think it was after his NHL career, he was doing some sort of water sports. He broke his neck.
Oh gosh.
And he had to get I think it was the same surgery as Jack Eichel. The disc replacement.
You couldn't tell when he's out there. Looked great.
You could, I mean, he was hobbling between games.
Yeah.
They were doing massages there, which is a great feature that they've added recently. And he was fine. And in the second game, he did the impossible. So let me tell you about the first game. So I go in front because I should. And Chelios is aiming for my stick. All I had to do was keep my stick on the ice. That's all I had to do. But I swung at it like a friggin' moron. And
It was very Make-A-Wish.
yes. It was
If we're
extremely,
being honest, it was Steve go stand there and
it was extremely, I won a contest to be there. And we get back to the bench. He goes, all right, Dangle, don't worry. I got your pace.
Oh, fuck. That's good.
Just
That's
like,
a burn. Holy shit.
Okay. So he knew I'm an idiot and I'm going to swing at it. So the second game, I park myself in front. He fires it right off my foot.
And it goes in.
And it went in.
Steve scored. That was your second career Easter Seals goal.
First goal on a goal.
Your first one came on an empty net.
Yeah.
Your second one came with Chelios bouncing it off of your foot.
I got an assist.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
a secondary assist.
Hey, they still count.
They still
The
count.
record book doesn't know
Yeah.
if they're first or second.
Just get it to a really good player and watch them do
It
stuff.
was good. It was a great moment when you got that goal.
Yeah, that was
fucking fun.
It's you can hear you on the video because you can hear Jesse go, "Did he get it?"
Yeah.
And as soon as I put up my hands, you're,
I freaked out.
that was a lot of fun. John LeClaire is so friggin' intense.
Oh yeah,
We were playing
That guy
against
was
him.
trying like it was Game 7.
Yeah, we were playing against him. I think we were up 4-1. They pulled to within 2, I think. And there was maybe 3 minutes left. The game should have been over.
Yeah,
the refs told us the game was going to
We
be
played
over.
overtime because he wanted to see if he could tie up the game. Like that's how much John LeClaire was into it. We were
matters
supposed
to him.
play 2 10-minute periods.
Yeah, Jesse was
And
terrified
then-
of him. Maddie was terrified of him. We were all terrified of John LeClaire.
And then he's like, no, we're keeping going. We're going to pull the goalie. And then we just played like 3 minutes overtime just so we can try and tie it up. And they didn't. So
There was like 90 seconds left, and I was out there. After about 20
just
seconds,
like-
I went, this is dumb. And I
Yeah.
got off the ice.
we should have been called for a too many men on the ice at one point.
For
which
at least
was fun.
30 seconds,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But we got all that sorted. That was fun.
Well, because we were blue.
Yeah,
And
right.
Chelios was out there wearing red, and the first team we played wore red.
Yeah.
It was confusing as shit.
Because Chelios wore his Blackhawks jersey for all the games. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Versteeg was on the first team, and they
Yep.
didn't have enough players, so he just played the whole game.
So
was
that
really hard.
That team had 7 guys
Yeah.
the whole time. They just played with 7 guys, and they were just rotating 2 out, and it was intense.
We had
It was
like
good.
3 lines. Maddie, you got something?
No, I was just gonna say that thing about Versteeg because he was wearing a blue jersey, the Leafs jersey,
Yeah.
and it confused me so much because I
Yeah.
was like passing it
Yeah.
to him. and
Their
I was
team was
like, why is he
red.
going the other way?
Their team was red. We had Chelios in red. We were blue, and they had Versteeg in blue. So it was all very jumbled up.
Versteeg was blue with red socks. Chelios
Yeah.
was red with blue socks.
Yeah. And then he switched. Do you remember towards the end of the game, he throws on the.
Yeah,
Versteeg did,
yeah.
yes.
And then it
Versteeg
became
did.
less confusing.
Yeah, so he'd clean things up. But then it was hard to keep track of where Versteeg is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a blast. I mean, that was my first time playing hockey, like a proper game in like 5 years. I was so sore the next day.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
I bet.
Yeah.
It does get you.
the legs.
Sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And I do have to give a special shout out to Eric Lindros, who always takes the tournament super seriously. He's involved with everything. But Adam, I think you missed this part. Lindros was sitting next to me on the bus from the hotel to the arena. And he was like telling stories and talking, and he was fun and fine. Then I was talking to someone else. We're at a red light. Our bus door opens. I go, well, that's weird. Lindros gets on the bus. I go, that's more weird. I thought he was sitting next to me. He ran off to go puke.
Oh, wow.
And like we had not begun drinking, maybe a couple sips. Like he had bad food poisoning, and he had to miss the whole draft night.
Wow.
He usually does like a big speech and everything. Next morning, he was one of the first people I saw in the lobby with bells on. He played in every game. He did the thing with Ron McLean, and that was a lot of fun. They told this really funny story where Lindros got like a cab ride like back when he was a player, and he asked the cab driver, he's like, do you have any booze in your house? They go by his house, and the cab driver's like, yeah, sure. Gives him like vodka.
No
or
way.
something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's Eric Lindros. He's this giant bear of a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Andre the Giant. Friggin' give him some.
Yeah.
Give him a quart or whatever it was. Yeah, like it was just an incredible thing. That $750,000 goes toward camp experiences for kids. I always tell you guys I hate the beach. Because you can't bring wheelchairs to the beach. But there's one of the Easter Seals camps they have is like just on the waterfront, and it's fully accessible and it's enjoyable, and it's one of the only like positive experiences I had in the water as a kid at one of those camps, and it still exists. I think that one was Marywood, which is out I think in Perth. It helps with wheelchairs, special equipment, everything, and the Lindros tournament is proud that 80% of the money that's raised by the tournament goes to the charity. And you might be like, well, why doesn't 100% go? Well, there's like upkeep and maintenance and things. There's expenses, things of that nature.
I think if you're asking why 100% of the proceeds from a charity don't go,
people don't know. People don't know.
You should know. You should
You
know.
should know,
Well,
but people
you
don't
have
know.
to. You have to pay for stuff.
Yeah, people don't know. It's okay. A lot of charities are lucky if they get to 50%. Some
Yeah, and
are,
a lot of ripoffs.
some are under 20.
Yeah.
So
Some of the major ones, which is a joke, by the way.
Yes, 100%. It's garbage. So that's why I'm happy to support Easter Seals.
Yep.
It's a charity that's near and dear, helped my family growing up, and also all the money goes to a great place.
Yep.
Jesse, what is that?
Oh, it's for after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody who donated to that. It's an amazing and a touching thing every year, and I'm glad you guys had a good time. I want to do a quick plug tonight: Kings, Flames, and me on with the Monday night stream. I don't know what we're gonna do now that Tanner Jeannot's not dressed, but I guess we'll have to talk about something else.
Enjoy.
You know, big factor in every game, Tanner Jeannot.
How dare you? He was a big factor in that game the other night.
We doing a
Hate
press?
Tanner
Are
Jeannot.
we doing a press conference?
Why do you hate Tanner Jeannot?
I don't. I just think it's the only thing I can rub in Tampa's face. The only bad move they've made.
Yeah,
pretty
but
much
he's
ever.
gone now.
I know they got out from under it, but I'm still,
I get it.
yeah. Anyway, let's go to the press conference.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
All right, first thing we'll start with, because we're talking about it, footage of Michael Jordan making all of the shots.
Oh, it's real.
To fuck them kids. Yeah, it was at Chris Paul's camp. I think it was 2016.
I knew it was Chris Paul.
Back in 2016, Chris Paul had a kids camp. And if you look at this footage, look at all of these damn kids in this gym. It's not a small amount of children.
Crazy,
it is
Jesse.
hundreds of children. And Chris Paul said at the end of the day of the camp, Michael Jordan, you're gonna go around the outside of the 3-point line there. No, not really the 3-point line, just inside of it. And you're gonna try and make a shot on every little corner there. And if you miss 3 shots, every kid in this gym gets free shoes.
Okay.
And Michael Jordan proceeded to go around to every dot that Chris Paul pointed out where he had to shoot from, and he made every single shot. Instead of making this entire gym of kids happy, he said, I'm Michael Jordan. I'm going to make these shots. And supposedly he never said fuck them kids, but that is the meme that followed along with this footage.
It is
What went viral.
Fuck them kids
And-
was the spirit.
Yes. And the final shot that Chris Paul said, okay, you're making all these shots. I'm going to cover your eyes.
Okay.
And you have to make this shot with your eyes covered. And he proceeded to drain the shot with his eyes covered. Oh, there you go. And none of the kids ever got
Amazing.
shoes from Michael Jordan. So yeah.
I thought I remember a version of the story where Chris Paul ended up paying for the game.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this on. I think he does, and I think
Yeah.
they give them the shoes in the end.
It would have been.
but
It would have been so ice cold if they hadn't, though. Can you
Right.
fucking imagine? Like, oh my god.
but Michael Jordan could have just missed the damn shot and just said, "Yay, everybody gets shoes." But he's no, I'm not losing anything.
God bless him.
Yeah.
That's one hell of a story.
I love that story. What else would you like to do, Jeff?
Next, we had a bunch of questions about Easter seals, so I'll move on from that because you answered them very nice. But I did want to just mention that Benito wrote, "Is Chelios the best hockey player ever for getting Steve a goal?" And yes,
Easily.
yes.
Easily.
the best.
John LeClaire wasn't able to do it. Ray Bourque wasn't able to do it.
Did Stevie Thomas get you one? No.
Hell no. No, we were hopeless that year. Lindros
hopeless.
wasn't able to do it. Wendell Clark wasn't able to do it. We played with all of those people.
That's amazing.
Dennis Marouk wasn't able to do it.
Chelios was able to.
Chelios.
I don't think any of the other guys knew that they had to just aim at your boot.
Yeah.
No.
I think
that
the other
they
guys
did.
thought like, oh, maybe Steve can just like tap it in.
Well, in previous years, I don't think I was quick enough to even get to the net.
Right.
On time.
No, but no, your hockey skills are getting a lot better, and I think the fact that you're able to get there and up and down the ice like you are now, where it's like you weren't years ago, you've gotten so much better that you're in a position to where Chelios can do that. So credit to you as well on your goal.
Who you said.
Yeah.
Jordan said, "Are you guys working on getting Tony Hand as a guest on the SDP in the future?" You know, the Tony Hand. I think that might be a fun idea.
Still alive?
He's coaching the Whitley Warriors in England.
I would actually love to have him on.
The former hockey team of Mike Babcock.
So I think people misunderstand when I say I'm not interested in the Tony Hand story.
What? How do you?
So for those of you
that?
who don't know, Tony Hand.
Yeah, because that's how it starts every time. For those of you that don't know, Tony Hand, and then they go, and he got all these crazy points in the British League, and he got to try out with Gretzky, but he was like, nah, the British League is it for me.
Adam, some people don't know that.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's their fault.
Maddie, did you know that?
That's their fault.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
First time I heard it.
I bet you heard it a few times since, though.
All right, so,
And-
so
Well,
Tony
yeah,
Hand,
and I laugh every time.
So,
now.
Adam, I'm talking to Maddie. So
I would
Tony
love
Hand,
to talk to Tony Hand. I would love to hear stories from Tony Hand that are different from the three that everybody trots out every time we talk about
But
Tony
some
Hand.
people don't know those three stories.
Well, how about why don't somebody call Tony and be like, "Yo, Tony, you want to chat?" That
you do
I'd
not
be
say,
interested in.
"Yo, Tony."
Sir Tony of Hand. Could you please come on the show?
Here, this is from icehockeyuk.co.uk. Forgive us if we write some of the figures here again, as they are frankly astounding. 1,748 games
forgive
played.
you. I don't forgive you. I know.
1,748 games played.
Tell me some
1,642
Anybody can look up Hockey TV.
career goals.
Anybody.
2,992 assists. 4,634.
I
Adam
want to
doesn't care.
know did Gretzky say hi to you at training camp? I'm interested.
Adam.
You
Adam.
gotta go deeper with Tony Hand. If we're gonna tell the story, tell the story.
No.
Don't tell the fucking Hockey DB page.
No.
Adam,
Come on, guys.
last month I learned for the first time in my life that people call the Tostitos cheese thing that you get at the grocery store is queso.
Right.
If somebody didn't teach me that, I would have just kept not knowing that information.
Yeah.
I think some people learn things at different points in their life. And if somebody doesn't know who Tony Hand is, I think it's important that you bring it up because he's a pretty cool dude. Mm-hmm. But
Adam,
you don't give a shit.
I won't have you disrespect the
He's
man
not even listening anymore.
that got
I am listening. I'm
He's doing
just
something else.
51
sitting here
goals.
frustrated. I'm stewing, Jesse. This is my stewing face.
He got 17 goals, 34 assists, 51 points in 12 games with the Edinburgh Racers in the Autumn Cup.
Man, that's
You're going to tell me that's not incredible?
You could read a stat sheet that's so good for you.
Damn. You're going to
That's
tell
so
me 16
cool.
points in 4 games in
Bring
the Scottish
Tony
Cup
Hand
isn't cool?
I know that.
stat sheets is like 80% of sports.
No, we can do better than that.
No.
we can do better than that.
I guarantee you we can't.
Listen, here's what I want to say.
He's in the IIHF Hall of Fame.
And you know who else? I think the official British Ice Hockey Federation follows us on Twitter. I'm sure.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure we could book an interview with Tony Hand.
You're going to tell me
Unless he doesn't want to talk.
the 2017 recipient of the IIHF Richard Bibi Toriani Award
Oh, he was
isn't
my favorite
interesting?
player.
You're the worst.
Guys, listen.
You're a piece of garbage.
It's not Tony that's the problem. It's he had a bunch of stats, tried out for the Oilers, went back, had more stats.
He won best forward the World Championship D division in 1989. You're telling me that's not interesting?
Why don't we ask him?
Hey, Tony, thanks for joining the
that-
show. Are you interesting?
Well, I guess
Hey,
we'll
Tony,
find out.
Are you
why
like,
doesn't
relevant?
anybody give a shit about your stats?
No, everybody cares.
Hey, so Adam like fucking hates.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like it's like when they use the Merrick Malik shootout goal, and nobody goes, "Hey, we should call Merrick Malik one day and be like, do you ever think about that?"
Oh yeah, that's the same.
Well, no, but this is the point: is that the story has been repeated so much, it is basically Despacito at this point. Like,
People like that song.
people did like that song.
So what are you talking about?
Do people
Lots of people
currently-
found that song interesting and relevant.
the first time they heard it, maybe even the 100th time.
And it's still good.
Oh my God. I'm just asking people to go a little deeper, please. And I'm happy. To that person, you know what? Maybe I'll make it my goal this year to book Tony.
To get Tony Hand on.
Can I book Tony Hand? Let's see.
We need it.
He has a Twitter, but it's not active. Last time he tweeted was in 2023.
That's probably for the best.
You're a piece of garbage.
No, you guys, that landed the wrong way. What I meant by that is,
Oh, yeah?
Twitter's not exactly a
Oh,
great
yeah? What'd
place.
you mean?
Also,
What'd you mean?
I wouldn't expect a guy named Tony Hand to be tweeting about anything other
No.
than bot porn at this point.
No, not interesting or relevant.
I'm
All
just
right,
saying.
next up. Moving on from Tony Hand, we'll
I'm-
never bring it up again.
I am filling my boots to the ankle, like just reading his
Steve,
stat
can we
page.
get back to the show, please?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna preface this question with a little bit of info. I'm not reporting anything, but it's relevant. It's relevant to the question. So Brendan Shanahan's contract expires this upcoming offseason with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay. There is rumors that there's pressure on him now that he has a boss. He's for many years, the MLSE went without somebody direct above Shanahan who cared about the hockey team. Mm-hmm. And now that the Leafs have struggled for so long to make significant waves in the playoffs and that Brendan Shanahan's contract is expiring, there is some conversation, not now, but coming up that, hey, what's going to happen with Shanahan past this season? So Who Knows All wrote, if you had the ability to replace Shanahan, who would you replace him with and why? So I'm posing that to you, Steve and Adam. Also, what do you think his future is with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well,
It's dependent on the playoff success, so let's just start.
no, it isn't.
No, it is, though.
Oh, then he'd be gone.
No, Steve, stop.
What?
Don't do that.
Why?
You know that things have changed fundamentally. We have
like
a new
Steve brought up
ownership group
Tony
that owns
Hand.
75%.
They just got
And then
here.
no, they didn't just get
Yes,
here.
they
They've
did.
owned the team for 10 years.
Yeah, but with 75%,
No,
they just
and
got
they're,
here.
and Rogers buying that is significant because who's the guy keeping him in place? It's Larry Tannenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
And what is so Larry can now send an email through to the rest
show us again when
to the
you-
rest of the owner group. He's gonna be this is Larry.
Yeah.
This is Larry. And Larry's going to go, hey, this is what I think we should do. And Ed Rogers goes, that's great. I'm going to put that in my spam folder. I don't give a shit what you think. And by the way, you're out in 2026 because you already said you're out because you got to fund Kilmer Sports. Good luck with that. And so I'll buy the rest of the team at that point.
But surely
except
he's
for the
gonna
5% Omer zone.
He's going to honor a contract
Guys.
that was signed in good faith, though.
Of course.
Rogers having controlling interest of
Is
MLSE, I think that does change. It is a part of this conversation.
And so
for
is
sure.
Keith
And this,
Pelly.
and this conversation just got here.
By the way,
and
guess-
Keith Pelly just got
Hey,
here.
okay, let me give you a little. I know you don't watch TFC stuff very closely, and that's okay. You don't need to.
No.
Bill Manning had the highest or one of the highest payrolls in the MLS for 5 or 6 years. The team fucking sucked every
Is Bill
year.
Manning the GM?
Bill Manning was the guy who was the GM president, oversee the whole operation, took over for Tim Bezbachenko, who put together the team that went
So,
and won all the championships.
president.
Yes. Whatever
Okay.
his title was, he was running the team and making the personnel decisions.
I ask because I don't know.
Okay. I can look it up for you.
Okay.
Bill Manning was there because he's one of Larry's guys. And the reason he was able to be in that position for that long with those few results is because he's one of Larry's guys. The Larry's guys days are over. And if that might also mean Masai Ujiri too.
Okay.
And I want you guys to understand that there is a fundamental change at the top. What
yeah.
Larry
Who's
was
Ed's
able to
guys?
do,
Ed's guys are Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins.
who I agree, but to suggest that there wouldn't be change, because here's the thing: the only thing making real money for MLSE right now is the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they need more. Because the Raptors are going to go through a rebuild, and NBA is expensive. They do get a lot of that TV money. That's good, but regardless, the Marlies are a perpetual money loser. That's okay. It's a development team for the Leafs. TFC shouldn't be losing money.
It saves you money in other ways.
TFC, when they were winning, were not losing money.
Yeah.
And now they are.
Yeah.
And then you got the Toronto Argonauts, who, for some reason, Larry needed to have them for $50 million. And
Hey, they're going to the Grey Cup on Sunday.
Yeah, and they're not going to make any money.
seriously?
It's going to be another year where they lose money.
This coming Sunday, the Argos are playing in the Grey Cup.
Yeah, without their starting QB.
Their QB got injured, but
This is my point.
If you gave me 52 guesses what week the Grey Cup falls on, I'd
Yeah.
probably get it wrong.
So,
the Jonas Brothers are playing the halftime show.
yeah.
Yeah, it's in Vancouver.
What happened to them?
No, that's just
That's a paid
good
good
check.
paid gig. Green Day did it.
What are you
one
talking
year.
about? Green Day was fucking awesome when they played the
Green
Grey
Day's
Cup.
fucking huge, Steve. They're one of
Yeah.
the best touring acts out there.
Damn.
Money wise, they make huge money.
They
sell
were
out
amazing.
everywhere.
They
Yeah,
did a great job.
They might not have any like.
Am I out of touch?
No, it's
No, it's the kids who are wrong.
and in that case, it's actually Gen X. That's
Yes.
the level above you, who can now go back to concerts because all their kids are teenagers.
That's right.
And they have money. So my point in saying all this is to say, oh, wave it off. It's never happened. The reason that the Raptors didn't rebuild when they should have was because Masai had to keep the team winning. This is the theory. Had to keep the team winning because Larry wanted to sell off a piece of his pie. And instead of giving up a first round pick for Jakob Poeltl, as hard as he
Man.
defended Anthony, what's his name, AD in LA last night and poked him in the eye, Poeltl's a good player, but he was not what they needed.
That team sucks.
They lost in the wild card game, which I was at,
Yeah.
and then they've never been a sniff close ever since. And I look at that as a microcosm, and then you look at TFC this year. Keith Pelly comes in and clears house and goes, no, we're not doing this anymore. All of you are on notice. And I think Shanny's thing here is going to be, can you convince the board is there any possible way you could convince the board that anything has changed if you go in and you lose in round one this year? And the difference is the ownership is different, and they need to win. They need the Leafs to win. They need the money. They need it to happen. By the way, this is a group that, here are the reports, and nobody talks about this. The reports are that, I've heard from a few people, that this ownership group, Bell, Rogers, Larry, for the first time had to put money into the teams over the pandemic because they lost so much.
Right.
They had to inject money into Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment.
No, there were no games.
So there were no games, and when there were games, they were losing money because there's no games.
Right.
Right?
You miss out on millions of dollars, no fans.
100%. And in a gate-driven league like the NHL, even with the Leafs,
yeah.
it matters.
And the Raps.
And
Yep.
so, and Bell was like, we don't really like that. We're gonna take our $5 billion and buy a U.S. cable network, which is what they did. And I mean, like, not television. They bought actual cable. And so, I think what's happening here is Shanny's got it's second round or bust, and if he can't get to the second round, he'll be allowed to present to the board and say, here's how it'll be different. And he will have next to no support. And I know that there were already questions in the Rogers camp about Shanny 2 years ago. I know that. So to say, listen, to compare and contrast Shapiro and Atkins, I understand why people would say, well, why would Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment be any different? And I get it, but they're not the same. The view of Shapiro and Atkins inside Rogers is, and what the view of Shanny is inside Rogers is completely different. That's all I'm saying.
What confuses me is Rogers, going back to the original question, which was like, if Shanahan's gone, who do you replace him with? I don't understand Rogers' relationship with the NHL. there are times where they just seem completely beholden to the NHL, and there are other times where the two parties seem to completely hate each other. So my initial answer was going to be, I don't know, it'll just be some other Gary disciple, because it always is.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Well, not necessarily. Like, what if Ed's like, F you, Gary, I'm going to get someone else. I'm going to get some other guy.
Ed at the board level is a different man now than he was before he took over the Rogers family thing from reports. He is a far more emotive, far more, not that he wasn't involved, but he just used to be quieter. And now he's far more vocal. And so with that comes but the other side of Ed is he also is smart enough from time to time to defer to people that know more. There's a reason a guy like Tony Staffieri is running Rogers. Okay. There's a reason why Mark Shapiro, who you say what you want about the player personnel decisions, and I will listen to it all day. Shapiro has done unbelievable things on the business side for the Blue Jays. Okay, the business case has never been better.
So you're just describing Brendan Shanahan.
Yeah, so
you gotta win.
But I think the difference is, though, are you Larry's guy or are you Ed's guy? And Keith is Ed's guy.
Why should any fan give a fuck who's guy? Who's gonna lead to wins?
Well, I think when you're a billionaire, your ego might be a bit outsized. So yeah, your guy matters. And I think Ed probably wants to put his stamp on the team. I think Keith probably wants to put his stamp on the team. And I think that there are various Maple Leaf alumni who are furious that Shanny got hired in the first place. Mm-hmm. They've been furious since day one. I don't think you need a Toronto Maple Leaf necessarily, although it sure would be interesting if a guy like Matt Sundin stepped into that role. Because
I don't know about president, but I do think in the future he'll have a role with the team.
Yeah.
I don't know about president.
I think presidents is a little too much.
I think you need somebody with experience.
But so where's that experience come from? Is it Department of Player Safety? Because that was Shanny's experience. Is it George Peros? Is it Ryan Getzlaff, who just joined on? It's not fair. That's I'm just saying. Or is it some, like, you can't. What you can do at Maple Leaf Sports, you have the benefit of this. You have the benefit of being able to hire the best talent in the world at like a 20% discount. Hey, I'm an accountant and I can make X amount of dollars working for Deloitte or working for KPMG. But if I'm an accountant and I work for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, that's a lot more fun. And they use that. They are able to take this organization and go, I'm going to get every employee at about a 20% discount to market rate because they want to work here. And we know that. And so to get it to the point where we need to answer this question, which is they're going to have to find somebody with hockey acumen who they can pair with their business acumen, which is already strong. Mm-hmm. That's why a guy like Matt Sundin could make sense eventually, maybe not right away, but could make sense eventually because Matt knows the hockey stuff. He knows the NHL stuff. If they can be trusted to be a good citizen, which Brendan is, which Matt's is, then now you look at, okay, we can surround him with the smart guys who are going to make the accounting decisions. We need the hockey guy. And that's why Maple Leafs alumni are so ticked that Brendan's in there. He didn't play for the team. He's not well liked among a lot of players. That's open.
He's not well liked.
That's open secret.
Just kind of.
Well, people that love him, though, love him.
All my experiences with him have been positive. It's literally just the team doesn't win.
Absolutely. I have nothing bad personally to say about Brendan except for the lack of wins. I agree with you. But to say that there isn't going to be a change or because that's what they've always done, I think is unfair. It's unfair to our audience because you have to acknowledge the changes. I agree. But I think until I've seen that they're just ready to set it and forget it, I won't believe it. I think they're ready I think if they're not going further, they're making a big change.
Do it.
I agree. Now, I do think you're going to have a big conversation about who that is. Good God, imagine it was Colin Campbell.
Fuck no.
We'd get every call our way, though.
Oh, yeah? Oh, fuck. Can I shout out the people who gave me these?
Yeah, what are they?
These are like... I didn't know this was a thing. I feel like a boomer, but these are like Taylor Swift bracelets or whatever. Mm-hmm. Someone gave me a few, and then later in the lineup, this was at my book signing in Ajax. Later in the lineup, someone goes, "Oh, Someone else had this idea, huh? And they gave me more.
So what's the idea?
So it's Taylor Swift lyrics, but rejigged to have Leaf stuff in them. So this one goes, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling Jake McCabe because he wears 22.
Yeah.
Which I think is friggin' brilliant. That's so many games. April 29th is obviously related to Taylor Swift, but it has to do with, I think that was the night the Leafs eliminated the Lightning. What is this one? Some of them are Taylor Swift reference that I don't get. Adam, what is this one? I don't understand that one. Mickey Mouse T-shirt. Oh, this is one about Vesatoskala back when I used to do the impression of him.
Oh yeah,
and he talked about his Mickey Mouse T-shirt that he liked very much.
I don't get that one either.
Okay, well,
What
anyway, I got a bunch, and
What
it's very.
what does it say? The one you don't get?
Annie Steven?
Yeah, AANII Steven. I don't know what that means. I forget.
AANII.
AANII. Some of them might not necessarily be like Taylor Swift themed.
Right. Okay. Anybody listening who gets it, please let us know.
Wait, what the fuck? It ruining our lives. Anyway, I like them very much.
They're very, very nice.
There you
very,
go.
very nice. That's cool. I like that. Are you going?
To Taylor Swift?
Jesse, are you
Yeah,
going?
I didn't have $6,500 to
I heard-
to bid on those tickets.
So my wife got her hair cut this week, and we can finish on this.
No way.
The person that cuts her hair knows someone who's going, and they just recently bought 2 tickets. Cost was total $11,000, and I was like, "What?" Like, first off,
They
where
must
are you
have
getting
money.
your haircut?
They must have money.
Dude,
like you
yeah,
have.
they got money.
There's
They
like
got-
No, but that's kind
significantly-
of the company you keep, right?
yeah.
These are your people.
Yeah. No, for sure.
The other
Billionaire.
1%. Oh my
So I was
god.
like, "What do you mean you spent more on Taylor Swift tickets?"
Maddie is frozen. She has not moved for about
That's a
20
car.
seconds.
That's a car. Not a
to,
great car.
to a poor. What poor ass car is $11,000? You might as well spend it on an evening with Tay Tay.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.